Chapter 454. In less than a month, the demon marks on Zishang's face had taken on the shape of a dragon. The antlers on his forehead looked hideous, and his aura grew fiercer and fiercer. Yunjioge and Zishang couldn't take it anymore. The little chick in her body didn't seem to change, but she felt something was off. She couldn't say what it was. Why don't we take a break? Yunjioge pushed at Zishang's chest. How long had they been cultivating? Her waist was about to break. This is the last time. Zishang could feel that his demon heart was close to completion. Just one last bit more. He kissed Yunjioge's arm, then pressed down. His passionate kiss enveloped her like a storm. Yunjioge felt like she was on a boat again. Tossing and turning, she felt like she was about to fly into the sky. In the end, Zishang's eyes turned red. His aura exploded, filling the entire cave with draconic energy. The small abode shook violently. If it wasn't for the soundproofing barrier and the defensive barrier, the abode would have collapsed. Yunjioge felt dizzy. She hurriedly wrapped her arms around Zishang's neck. Zishang grabbed her head and kissed her. A warm and violent aura entered her dantian. Yunjioge shivered as the little chick in her dantian burst into flames. Then it reached her dantian and underwent a nirvanic rebirth. In the end, it transformed into a white egg inside of her. Zishang narrowed his eyes. The draconic energy finally condensed into a demon heart, beating in his chest. What's going on? Yunjioge almost kicked Zishang away. What? Zishang had just recovered his demon heart and his eyes were still red. He didn't know what was going on. Look for yourself. Yunjioge patted her belly. Why is there an egg in there? Zishang looked at Yunjioge's belly in confusion. It was white, flat, and smooth. Open your demon eye and look inside. Yunjioge kicked Zishang angrily. This guy must have become stupid from cultivating. Zishang hurriedly opened his demon eye and saw a small white egg in Yunjioge's belly. It was only the size of a baby's fist and it was especially beautiful and cute. He couldn't help but reach out to touch Yunjioge's belly. It was flat and it was still soft. What the hell are you touching? What's going on? Yunjioge was about to die from anger. Her little phoenix had turned into an egg, so how was she going to cultivate the divine blood in the future? I don't know either. Can you try and see if your god's blood can still be used? Zishang asked. Let me try. Yunjioge stretched out his finger and a golden flame appeared. Underneath it was the white bone fire flickering with a faint light. Divine flame? Zishang's eyes lit up. This golden flame was unique to the goddess. Divine flame? Yunjioge only felt that this flame was very familiar, as if it had come from within her body. At this time, the thunderfire needle that had been kept in the storage bag all this time suddenly flew out. A faint golden light flashed behind it, and it circled around her like an obedient little bird. This needle doesn't look normal either. Previously, Yunjioge had only treated the thunderfire needle as an acupuncture tool, but now she realized that the thunderfire needle was as obedient as a child. It even sent a happy message to her heart. She casually waved her hand, and the needle turned into a beam of light that shuttled back and forth in the room, bringing with it bursts of golden light. It was incomparably beautiful. Your thunderfire needle is finally alive. Zishang seemed to see the goddess standing on top of the clouds. Thousands of needles rained down like a meteor chasing after the sun, covering the entire land. It seems that this egg is fine. Yunjioge could feel that the power of the divine blood in her body was very rich, even better than before. Could it be that the little phoenix has been reborn? Zishang also had no experience in this area. Maybe. Since it was fine, Yunjioge couldn't be bothered to think about it. Anyway, this little phoenix came out on its own. As long as the divine blood was still there, it was fine. Let's go. Let's go out quickly. We are leaving tomorrow. They are all waiting anxiously. Yunjioge looked up. The communication talismans had filled up the space of their cave abode. She randomly picked one and all of them were asking when she would come out of seclusion. Zishang's demon heart had been completely cultivated, and he could restore his demon body at any time. At this moment, the aura on his body was even more restrained and valiant. He could completely conceal his aura without the need for invisibility. When he didn't want to, he wouldn't attract anyone's attention. I will send them a message and ask where they are gathering. Yunjioge waved a communication talisman and sent it out. Ian Shirley quickly replied with a message. They were gathering at the spider workshop, which was the furthest away from Ian Corp's sect. Because this matter was very secretive, they had to hide it from others. Even Jin Yanwei from Enemy Mountain didn't know about it. Yun Jioge packed up everything and went to the spider workshop with Zishang. The spider workshop was opened by a golden core stage spider demon beast and a rogue cultivator. This workshop was made from its own spider silk, and it was filled with white spider silk everywhere. Yun Jioge had just entered the workshop when the white spider silk floated over. It looked like it was trying to entangle with her. Zishang stretched out his finger and flicked it. The white spider silk immediately started burning. Is someone following us? Yun Jioge could also feel that someone was looking at her. This spider silk is used for surveillance, but it's fine. It's just a small spider. Zishang really didn't care about this golden core stage small spider. Yun Jioge was about to ask Ian Shirley about the situation when a small white spider the size of a thumb floated in front of her. It was carrying a yellow communication talisman on its back. Ian Shirley's voice automatically floated out. You've arrived. Your news came quickly? Yun Jioge grabbed the small spider that was flashing with white light and played with it in her hand. The small spider squeaked. It was frightened by Zishang's gaze and obediently lay in Yun Jioge's hand, not daring to move. The golden core stage spider in the spider workshop is my friend. We are waiting for you at the Drunken Fragrance Tower. Hurry over. Ian Shirley said. Alright, then we will go over now. Yun Jioge nodded and flicked the small spider away. As long as this golden core stage spider wasn't an enemy, it was fine. The Drunken Fragrance Tower is over there. Zishang scanned with his divine sense and had already figured out the situation in the spider workshop. Yun Jioge followed Zishang into the Drunken Fragrance Tower and saw Ian Shirley sitting in the middle. On his right was Bailey Moyun and Nangong Li. On the left was Cho Sin and a beautiful woman in red. The woman's black hair was combed into small braids. Her eyelids were faintly purple and her lips were as red as blood. She was extremely beautiful. When she saw Zishang and Yun Jioge enter, her eyeballs stuck to Zishang like spider silk. Chapter 455. You're here. Let me introduce you. This is my friend Chun Sonyang. This is our Ian Corp's sex disciple Yun Jioge and her guard Yi Zi. Ian Shirley introduced them politely. Logically speaking, he had previously announced that Yun Jioge was the sect head candidate, so he should be his disciple. However, because the almighty beings held Yun Jioge in high regard, he did not dare to take advantage of him. I'm Lady Chun Sonyang. Greetings, Senior Yi Zi. I'll have to trouble Senior to take care of me during this trip to the mystic realm. Chun Sonyang gracefully rose to her feet and bowed. In the blink of an eye, a series of amorous eyes flew towards Zishang. She did not take Yun Jioge seriously at all. In her heart, Yun Jioge was just an ordinary foundation establishment cultivator. How could he compare to Zishang the great demon? Even though Ian Shirley had said that Zishang was Yun Jioge's bodyguard, she had treated it as a cover-up. Zishang didn't even spare a glance at the little spider that thought too highly of herself and asked Ian Shirley directly. Just these people? That's right. Cho Sin said that the entrance to the mystic realm is at the 100,000 mountains. Chun Sonyang stayed there for a period of time. With her help it will be much better. Ian Shirley explained this to Yun Jioge. As for Chun Sonyang's disrespectful attitude towards Yun Jioge, he did not deliberately correct her. The mighty figure asked him to protect Yun Jioge, so the more inconspicuous Yun Jioge was, the better. Zishang had the same thought, which was why he chose to give himself up instead of hiding himself. On the other hand, when Yun Jioge heard the words 100,000 mountains, he thought of Junichen and Luo Tian. He wondered if he would be able to see them this time. After all these years, they should have improved a lot. If we have time, we'll go find them. Zishang knew what Yun Jioge was thinking. All right. Yun Jioge nodded. Ahem. Ian Shirley faked a few coughs and looked at Zishang respectfully. Senior, can we set off now? His attitude made it clear that Zishang was the leader of this operation. Let's go. Zishang nodded coldly, turned around and walked out. Ian Shirley took a step back and stood on Zishang's left. Chun Ernyang rushed to stand on Zishang's right side. Cho Sin had no choice but to follow beside Ian Shirley. Because of this, Yun Jioge could only be reduced to walking with Bailey Moyun and Nangong Li. After all, they were all foundation establishment cultivators. Yun Jioge did not mind. She was about to ask Bailey Moyun something, so she secretly sent a voice transmission. I say, aren't you afraid of being killed by directly revealing your identities? The two of them were really bold, openly following the Corp sect in and out like this. Were they not afraid of being misunderstood as the Purple Cloud sect and the Everlasting Sword Pavilion's betrayal? At the start I was a little worried. Who would have thought that Sect Master Shirley would be such a good person? Bailey Moyun and Nan Gong Li originally wanted to pretend to be Shirley's bodyguards, but Shirley said there was no need. They were all on the same side and there was no need to hide. His attitude was quite sincere. What about Cho Sin? Yun Jioga glanced at Nan Gong Li. This guy and Cho Sin still had a head full of lawsuits. He wondered how they were doing now. However, what she wanted to know the most was whether Bailey Moyun knew about the relationship between Cho Sin and the Nangong family. I don't know. Cho Sin didn't even look at us from start to finish. However, he probably won't do anything to us. Bailey Moyun shrugged. When Yun Jioga heard this, she guessed that Bailey Moyun definitely knew something. She could not help but ask, did Nan Gong Li tell you about Nan Gong Yu? What about Aunt Yu? Why don't I know about it? Bailey Moyun feigned ignorance. Stop pretending. Already know about Nan Gong Yu. I've even seen her before. Yun Jioga sneered. What did you say? Bailey Moyun blurted out. Shirley, Cho Sin and the others all turned to look at him. Nan Gong Li also looked over coldly. Oh, nothing. Bailey Moyun laughed awkwardly. He patted his spirit beast pouch and said, I'm chatting with my spirit pet. Chirp chirp chirp. Xiao Tao's fluffy bird head popped out of the spirit beast pouch. It glanced sideways at its stupid master. It was the scapegoat again. Later we will first use our flying artifact to leave the Soul mountain range. Then we will take a flying ship to the 100,000 mountains. Shirley looked at Bailey Moyun with a hint of warning. They were a few thousand miles away from the 100,000 mountains. Hence Shirley had specially brought a small flying ship over. Yes. It's my fault. I will definitely pay attention. Bailey Moyun immediately apologized. Scope. Zishang continued to walk forward. However, although he was walking in front, all his attention was on Yun Jioga. He knew the content of her conversation with Bailey Moyun like the back of his hand. Hence he was not flustered. I say, why are you so excited? You want to follow us to the mystic realm with your unstable personality? Be careful not to drag us down. Yun Jioga looked down on Bailey Moyun mercilessly. Oh. Just now you said that you saw Aunt Nan Gong Yu. How is that possible? She has been missing for many years. Bailey Moyun and Nan Gong Li grew up together. He was very close to Nan Gong Yu. I found a coffin in Cho Sen's forbidden ground. Nan Gong Yu's body was inside. It has been well preserved all these years. Even her cultivation did not drop. Yun Jioga truly admired Cho Sen's deep love for Nan Gong Yu. Aunt Yu is indeed with Cho Sr. Bailey Moyun had also heard some rumors about this. Don't pretend. I don't believe that the Purple Cloud sect does not know of Nan Gong Yu's whereabouts. Your limitless sword pavilion is not inferior to the Purple Cloud sect. They have so much information about the mystic realm. Do you believe that you have an ancestral teaching that it has nothing to do with Nan Gong Yu? Yun Jioga felt that the Purple Cloud sect definitely had more information about the mystic realm. However, Nan Gong Li seemed to be a tight-lipped person. Hence she decided to think of a solution from Bailey Moyun. No wonder. Bailey Moyun furrowed his brows and pondered. I have quite a lot of information here as well. Why don't you use the Purple Cloud sect's information to exchange for it? I'm only doing this for Xiao Tao's sake. Yun Jioga continued to flirt with Bailey Moyun. Lady Yun, Ali and I are friends who grew up together. I will not betray him. Bailey Moyun refused decisively. I am not going to deal with the Purple Cloud sect. Why would you betray him? We are preparing to enter the mystic realm. I have helped you so much, but you are still hiding the information you have. If that is the case, then forget it. Let's see who is begging who when the time comes. Yun Jioga rolled her eyes. Lady Yun, don't be angry. That is not what I mean. Let me think about it. Bailey Moyun was very clear that the two of them could follow the Corp sect so openly because of Yun Jioga. They really did not dare to offend her. Chapter 456. If that's not what you mean, then what do you mean? I'll tell you something else. I have a way to summon Nan Gong Yu's soul. It depends on your sincerity. Yun Jioga threw out another bait. Really? Bailey Moyun was surprised at first but then felt something was wrong. Then why don't you tell Ali that Aunt Yu is from the Purple Cloud sect? If you want benefits you should go to him. I'll give you this favor then you sell it to the Nangong family. I'll be able to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Just tell me if you're willing. Yun Jioga transmitted his voice over until his head hurt. This Bailey Moyun was still dilly-dallying like this. How annoying. Bailey Moyun did not say anything. Although he was not a meticulous person he was still a true core disciple of the sect. He would think twice when he encountered important matters. At this moment, Zishang suddenly transmitted to Yun Jioga. Why are you so interested in the Nangong family? Because I suddenly remembered something. Do you remember when we followed Si Yue? Didn't Nangong Li transform into Wanli Mingxian after he left? Yun Jioga still had a deep impression of that transformation technique. She was a master of disguise herself, but even after eating the illusion grass and transforming into a man, she still spoke and acted in the same manner as before. However, Nangong Li was able to completely transform into another person, which made her feel that it was very strange. That was why she wanted to inquire about it. I'll find a chance to ask Nangong Li. Zishang planned to use his demon eye to get all the information Yun Jioga wanted to know. There's no need for that. If we can find out we'll do it. If not then forget it. Going to the mystic realm is more important. Both Nangong Li and Wanli Mingxian were friends with Yun Jioga. He did not want to make things too awkward. Sure. Nangong Li was only a foundation establishment cultivator. Zishang could crush him with 1 finger. Yun Jioga was happy. Just as Yun Jioga and Zishang were transmitting, Bailey Moyun was also discussing with Nangong Li. Lady Yun wants to exchange information about your Purple Cloud sect with me. Why would she do that? Nangong Li's expression did not change but he was extremely puzzled. I don't know. Do you think we should give her some information to deal with it? Bailey Moyun left the decision in Nangong Li's hands. He didn't want to be estranged from his best friend after a trip to the mystic realm. Give it to her. Just tell her that our Purple Cloud sect indeed knows that Aunt is with Cho Senator. The reason why we didn't bring her body back was because we were afraid of alerting the enemy. After all, Cho Sin is the only one who came out of the secret realm alive. We still have to hope that he can go in again. Although Nangong Li was very dissatisfied with the sect's method of using his aunt as bait to entice Cho Sin to work hard, his words didn't carry much weight and he couldn't change the sect's decision. Alright, I understand. Bailey Moyun received Nangong Li's approval and decisively sent a voice transmission to Yun Jioga. Alright, I'll trade with you. Actually, the Purple Cloud sect intentionally placed Aunt Yu's corpse with Cho Senator. Their goal was to make use of him. I don't think so. Yun Jioga looked straight ahead as he followed behind the crowd. His voice transmission to Bailey Moyun was full of sarcasm. You and Nangong Li discussed for half a day and came up with such information to fool me. You're too insincere. Don't expect me to help you in the future. Lady Yun, I'm not from the Purple Cloud sect. It's too difficult for me to ask for information from them. If you want information from the Limitless Sword Pavilion, I guarantee that I'll even get the Pavilion Master's sword manual for you. The Pavilion Master of the Limitless Sword Pavilion was known as the Formless Sword. The sword manual was a blank stone that contained his sword intent. Every member of the Limitless Sword Pavilion held one in their hand. Bailey Moyun had a few of them in his storage pouch. He often used them as favors and gained a lot of face. I'm not interested in your Limitless Sword Pavilion. Since you and Nangong Li are so close, you must have some guesses about Nangong Yu's matter. Yun Jioga's soft approach didn't work, so he directly used hard tactics. I'll give you one last chance. If you can't give me information that satisfies me, we'll part ways. You guys can wait and see when we get to the Mystic Realm. Lady Yun, don't give me face. Do you really want Xiao Tao and Xiao Ying to lose their master? Bailey Moyun begged pitifully. It's easy to get cultivators but it's hard to get good goo. You don't have to worry about where they go. At most you can just let them be masterless wild goo. That way they'll have more freedom. Seeing Yun Jioga's resolute attitude, Bailey Moyun was a little afraid. He glanced at the 4 golden core cultivators in front and Zishang in the middle. After thinking for a while he finally decided to give Yun Jioga some useful information. Actually, I've always suspected that a part of Aunt Yu's soul might have returned to the Purple Cloud sect. Really? This information was completely out of Yun Jioga's expectations. A part of Nangong Yu's soul had actually returned to the Purple Cloud sect. Then why did the Purple Cloud sect hide it and not look for Chosen? Whether it was a physical body without a soul or a soul without a physical body, both were extremely dangerous. If Nangong Yu's soul could return to her physical body, it could more or less serve as a mutual nourishment. It was better than running around naked. It's just my guess, Bailey Moyun hurriedly explained. All these years, the old monsters of the Limitless Sword Pavilion had been paying a lot of attention to the Purple Cloud sect. However, even Bailey Moyun did not know the specific reason. Your conjecture is very reasonable. Do you think Nangong Li brought Nangong Yu's soul with him? If he could summon Nangong Yu's soul and ask her, many problems would be easily solved. Miss Yun, don't be rash. I'm just guessing. If Ali finds out, I'm dead. Bailey Moyun regretted that he had spoken too quickly. It would be over if he brought disaster to Ali. Don't worry, I'm just asking. If I really wanted to do anything, would the two of you still be standing here? Yun Jioga still felt like a friend to Bailey Moyun and Nangong Li. Otherwise, she would have directly tied them up and interrogated them. I know Miss Yun is loyal. Otherwise, the two of us would not have dared to follow you. Bailey Moyun hurriedly tried to curry favor. However, your sect is really strange. You actually sent 2 Foundation establishment cultivators. No matter what, you should have at least sent a Golden Core cultivator. Yun Jioga continued to ask. Forget it, I won't hide it from you. Actually, our sect did not only send 2 Foundation establishment cultivators. We also sent a few Golden Core cultivators to follow the Heavenly Fragrance sect and the Danyang sect. The 7-Ask Pavilion and the Limitless sect entered the Mystic Realm through another route. As for which route, I don't know. Bailey Moyun started to reveal his secret again. However, Yun Jioga would find out about this sooner or later. There was no need to hide it. Yun Jioga was shocked. The 6 major sects had all gone. What about the remaining 4 sects of the Devil sect? Moreover, apart from this treasure map, what other barriers could they use to enter the Mystic Realm? Things were getting more and more complicated. Chapter 457. Don't think so much, just take care of yourself. Zishang transmitted his voiceover. Oh. Yun Jioga came back to her senses and realized that she was thinking too much. She was going to the Mystic Realm to find her old subordinate Li Wei and the thing that was sealed in the Mystic Realm, not to fight with the demonic sections. She only needed to look after Nangong Li and that slut. Yun Jioga looked at Chun Sanyang's swaying waist and her posture of wanting to stick to Yun Jioga. He felt like she was going blind. I say, aren't you worried that Senior Yizi will be seduced by this Chun Sanyang? Bailey Moyun winked at Yun Jioga. Why, do you also think this Chun Sanyang is charming? Yun Jioga asked humbly. To be honest, although she had seen countless men in her previous life, and each of them was the best of the best, those men were forced to submit to her because of her power. Most of them were dedicated, so she really didn't feel that she had any charm. Such a beautiful female demon, any male cultivator would want to have some fun with her. Not only can you improve your cultivation, but you don't have to take responsibility. Don't you demonic sects like this kind of casual marriage? Bailey Moyun chuckled. In the eyes of the righteous, demonic sects did whatever they wanted, killed whenever they wanted, slept whenever they wanted, and had no morals or shame. We are Een Corp's sect, not the Joyous Union sect. Besides, appetite and lust are human nature. Demonic sects aren't the only ones who want casual marriage. I see that you are quite interested in it. Do you want me to help you? Chun Sanyang will definitely be interested in a fresh meat like you. If you sacrifice your beauty, you might even be able to rope in a backer. Yun Jioga glanced at Bailey Moyun. Bailey Moyun and Nangong Li were both young, charming and extraordinarily handsome male cultivators. They were indeed in line with the public standards. She is a gold core demonic cultivator. Why would she be interested in 2 brats like us? Looking at Chun Sanyang's flirting, Senior Yizi is at least in the late gold core stage. Bailey Moyun probed. This has nothing to do with cultivation, and this has nothing to do with charm. As Yun Jioga spoke, he secretly sent a voice transmission to Zishang. Don't keep that spider spirit hanging, hurry up and cut off this rotten peach blossom. Only by cutting off the spider spirit's thoughts would she be able to turn her attention to Bailey Moyun and Nangong Li, the 2 fresh meat. At that time, in order to protect their chastity, it would be hard for them not to rely on themselves. Sure. Zishang smiled. No one knew what he had done to Chun Sanyang. Suddenly Chun Sanyang's face turned deathly pale. She silently took 3 steps away from Zishang. She looked at him as if she had seen a ferocious beast. What's wrong with Madame Chun? Why does she look so pale? Bailey Moyun, who was secretly observing the situation, immediately sent a voice transmission to Yun Jioga. Perhaps she realized that Yi Zi's bone was too hard for her to chew. Yun Jioga chuckled to himself. With Zishang's arrogant temperament, it would be strange if he took a fancy to a little spider like Chun Sanyang. Chun Sanyang quickly returned to normal, but she didn't dare to look at Zishang anymore. Instead she turned around and floated over to Bailey Moyun and Nan Gongli. Nan Gongli was still cold and arrogant. He didn't even look at Chun Sanyang. Bailey Moyun happened to meet Chun Sanyang's gaze. He immediately felt as if he had fallen into a spider's hole. His scalp went numb and he really wanted to shout for help. At this moment, Ian Shirley took out a red date stone from his storage bag and said, "All right, we have already left the Ian Seoul mountain range. Let's get on the flying ship." The small date stone was carved into the shape of a flying ship. It looked very lifelike. Even the sails were swaying. Ian Shirley channeled his spiritual power into it. The date stone grew in the wind and immediately turned into a small flying ship. The red sails were fluttering in the wind. "Senior, please." Ian Shirley let Zishang go first. Zishang's figure moved and carried Yun Jioga onto the ship. Cho Sin and Chun Sanyang followed. Next was Bailey Moyun and Nan Gongli. Ian Shirley was the last to board the ship. Although this small flying ship wasn't very big, it had everything. There were even a few attack turrets on the body of the ship. Its flying speed was also very fast. This kind of flying ship consumed a lot of spiritual power. However, Ian Shirley had been the sect leader of the Ian Corpse sect for so many years. He was a living corpse and didn't need spirit stones to cultivate. Hence, he had accumulated a lot of spirit stones that could be used. It will take 2 days to fly to the 100,000 mountains. All of you can meditate in your own houses. This is the house entry token. Ian Shirley gave out tokens to everyone. The Golden Core cultivators each had a room. Yun Jioga, who was a woman, also had a room. Bailey Moyun and Nan Gongli shared a room. Yun Jioga took the token and entered the room. The space inside was very small and the furnishings were very simple. The defensive formation was also very weak. However, it was still considered not bad. Yun Jioga sat cross-legged on the bed. As she regulated her breathing, she checked the movements of the little white egg in her dantian. The little white egg lay quietly on the high platform in her dantian. As Yun Jioga breathed gently, she felt a sense of intimacy. Yun Jioga couldn't help but rub her stomach. There was a feeling of joy and uneasiness in her heart. It was very complicated, but she couldn't tell what was going on. "What's wrong? Is your stomach uncomfortable?" Zishang walked through the door and pulled Yun Jioga into his arms. He placed his large hand on her stomach. "I don't know why, but I keep feeling uneasy. It's empty. It's as if my feet can't touch the ground." Ever since Yun Jioga recovered the memories of her previous life, she often had this feeling. "Don't think too much. The catastrophe isn't for you alone. Even if the sky falls, I'll hold it up." Zishang patted Yun Jioga's stomach. "You don't have God's blood. How can you hold it up?" When the sky was about to fall, she had sacrificed herself to hold it up. "You only have God's blood now, but you don't have a God's body. You're no different from me." Zishang sighed. "Sometimes I really hope that you haven't recovered your memories. It would be great if you were as carefree as before. How about I seal your memories?" Zishang looked into Yun Jioga's eyes very seriously. "Isn't that like burying one's head in the bowl? I won't do such a stupid thing." "Alright, what did you say to Chun Sanyang just now? Why was she so scared?" Yun Jioga asked with interest. "Nothing much. I just put something in her mind so that she wouldn't dare to do anything to me." Zishang said lightly. He just put a puppet rune in Chun Sanyang's mind so that Chun Sanyang wouldn't dare to do anything to him. And at a critical moment he could connect Chun Sanyang to a puppet to protect Yun Jioga. But there was no need to let Yun Jioga know about this. "I see." Yun Jioga didn't think much about it. She closed her eyes and yawned. She didn't know why, but ever since the little phoenix turned into an egg, she was very sleepy and wanted to sleep all day. "Go to sleep. I'll wake you up when we get there." Zishang patted Yun Jioga's back. "You stay with me. Yunjioga hugged Zishang's waist and didn't let go. Okay, I'll stay with you. Zishang lay down with Yunjioga. After she fell asleep, his eyes stayed on her abdomen for a long time. That egg would eventually become their child, the child of life. No, it was impossible. Yunjioga tried her best in her previous life but couldn't succeed. How could she succeed so easily in this life? Zishang sighed and didn't dare to think about it anymore. He placed his palm on Yunjioga's dantian and focused on helping her regulate the qi in her meridians. Chapter 458. When Yunjioga woke up, Zishang was no longer there. A row of defensive talismans was pasted on the door, obviously left by Zishang. She stretched, pushed open the door and walked out. The flying ship stopped in the air. The milky white defensive barrier had already risen. Zishang and the rest were standing at the bow of the ship and looking down. Cho Sin and Yin Shirley had very serious expressions. Bailey Moyun and Nan Gongli stood at the stern of the ship. When they saw Yunjioga come out, they waved at her. Come here, come here. What are you looking at? Yunjioga walked over and looked down. It was already dusk, the sun had already set halfway, leaving only the orange sunlight. The lush mountain range of the 100,000 mountains stretched endlessly, but the spiritual power was very thin. Occasionally, patches of gray or black miasma could be seen. It was indeed a holy land for raising venomous insects. I heard the seniors discussing that the entrance to the mystic realm was occupied by a group of Miao people, and they are discussing what to do. Bailey Moyun pointed to a piece of land in the east and said softly, Miao people? Yunjioga opened her spirit eye and looked carefully at the place Bailey Moyun was pointing at. She saw a large patch of black gas under the lush mountain range, but it looked different from the miasma. The 100,000 mountains is the territory of the Miao people. Although the 5 poison sect is not listed in the 5 demon sects, they are considered a mid-tier sect, and their strength is not to be underestimated. If they occupy the entrance to the mystic realm, it will be difficult for us to enter without anyone noticing. Bailey Moyun's face was full of worry. He originally thought that it would be smooth sailing on the ship of Yin Corp's sect, but he did not expect so many twists and turns. Sect Master will have a way to deal with it, we don't have to worry. Yunjioga stole a glance at Zishang. Zishang and the others should have discussed a solution and were walking towards them. Everyone get ready, we will find a place to land first, then go and investigate. Yin Shirley's words were mainly for Yunjioga to hear. Got it. Yunjioga gave Zishang a look, then returned to the house to pack up. Not long after, Zishang came in. What's going on with the entrance to the mystic realm? Does the 5 poison sect also have a treasure map? Yunjioga really did not understand, how could there be treasure maps everywhere? We still don't know if it's the 5 poison sect's problem. Zishang spread his hand and a sheepskin scroll appeared before Yunjioga. You got it from Cho Sin? Yunjioga asked in surprise. Zishang nodded. He had asked Yin Shirley to get it for him. At first Cho Sin was a little unwilling, but he did not say anything. Yunjioga took a closer look and found that the route on the treasure map was very simple. It directly indicated that the entrance was on Goddess Mountain. Cho Sin didn't say how to get in? Secret realms were all in another space. Finding the entrance was only the first step. The most important thing was to figure out how to enter. He said that the method of entering the mystic realm is different every time. Last time they walked to the entrance and were sucked in by themselves. But I guess he's still hiding something. Zishang was thinking of finding a chance to use Demon Eye to get Cho Sin to spill the beans. He must be hiding something. Right, I forgot to tell you. Bailey Moyun suspects that a part of Nangong Yu's soul has returned to the Purple Cloud sect. How about we use this information to make an exchange with him? Yunjioga did not want to use violence against a problem that could be solved through peaceful negotiation. We can make use of this when the time is right. Zishang nodded. Using Demon Eye on a golden core cultivator required a lot of demonic power. It would be good to save it. We can go find Jun Yichen and Luo Tian to ask about the situation. I wonder if Fei Fei can find them. Yunjioga summoned Fei Fei. The black and white butterfly danced around her. Life chi and death chi alternated between its wings. Fei Fei, let's go down and find Lil Red and the natal goo later, okay? Yunjioga threw a cherry pill to it. No problem. Leave it to me. Fei Fei swallowed the cherry pill and promised sweetly. It's too conspicuous like this. I'll seal its reincarnation power first to prevent others from discovering it. If you want to remove the seal, you just have to feed it a drop of blood. Zishang raised his hand and pointed at Fei Fei. A purple light covered Fei Fei's body and sealed the life qi circulating in its wings. Its black and white wings also turned gray, making it look like a moth. Sob sob sob, it's too ugly. Fei Fei landed on Yun Jioga's shoulder sadly. Couldn't accept being so ugly. It's okay. It's just ugly for a few days. I'll help you remove the seal later. Yun Jioga patted Fei Fei's head and comforted it. Sister's blood is good stuff. You won't lose anything. All right. Fei Fei had to admit that its master's blood was delicious. Lady Yun, we're here. Bailey Moyun's shout came from the door. Hurry up and leave. Don't let Chun Sanyang see you. Yun Jioga pushed Zishang out and left the house as if nothing had happened. The flying ship landed on a small open space. The ancient trees above blocked the sunlight. It was very dark. Yun Jioga got off the flying ship and stood with Bailey Moyun and Nangong Li. Zishang stood opposite her. Yin Shirley stood beside him. He waved his hand and kept the flying ship. He said, let's go to the entrance and see if the people from 5 Poison Sect have occupied the place. What do you think? Sure. Zishang nodded. I'll lead the way. Chun Sanyang stole a glance at Zishang. Chun Sanyang is the most familiar with this place. Following her will save us a lot of trouble. Although Yin Shirley did not know what had happened, he knew that Chun Sanyang was afraid of Zishang like a mouse seeing a cat. If Zishang wanted to target Chun Sanyang, he would be stuck in the middle and would not know what to do. That was why he wanted to put in a good word for Chun Sanyang. Let's go. Zishang did not say anything else. Chun Sanyang recognized Zishang's approval and was very excited. She took out a white ball the size of a fist from her storage bag and threw it on the ground. The white ball automatically rolled forward, leaving a white light to guide the group. Yun Jioga and the rest followed the white light. They did not encounter any danger along the way, nor did they encounter any miasma or poisonous gas. Soon they arrived at Lady Goddess Mountain. Lady Goddess Mountain looked like a beautiful woman with her head lowered. At the foot of the mountain there was a row of ramparts. They were all built with hard pine wood that was as tall as 2 people. On top of the ramparts, there were rows of people dressed in Miao clothes patrolling. Every one of them had a colorful goo worm on their body. Looking up, there were many stilt buildings stacked on top of each other. The oil lamps were especially eye-catching in the dark night. It is indeed the 5 Poison Sect. Moreover, they are the elites of the sect. Chosun stood on a big tree and looked down. Although their Corp sect was not afraid of the 5 Poison Sect, they had hidden this from the sect. If the sect master went back to mobilize troops, the entire demon sect would know the location of the mystic realm. At that time, everyone would definitely want a share of the loot. Chapter 459. Those wooden doors are filled with parasite eggs. If we don't have a special way to avoid them, we'll be devoured the moment we get close. Yun Jioga had been raising parasites for so long he knew them like the back of his hand. There's no need for us to fight 5 venoms head-on. Let's first ask their sect leader if he knows where the mystic realm is. If he knows, we'll use the sect's power to threaten them and get a share. If he doesn't know, we'll think of another way. Yin Shirley was indeed a sect leader for so many years, he immediately thought of a solution. That's a good idea. Zishang agreed. Why don't I go find 5 Venom's sect leader with Yin Shirley? I have some ties with him, Chun Sanyang suggested. Yin Shirley and Chun Sanyang go find 5 Venom's sect leader. Chosun, Bailey Moyun and Nangong Li stay here, Zishang said. Yes. Yin Shirley and Chun Sanyang answered in unison, then left the tree. Let's go. Zishang transmitted to Yun Jioga. To where? Yun Jioga didn't understand. To find Junie Chen and the others. Zishang landed beside Yun Jioga from the top of the tree. What about them? Yun Jioga looked at Bailey Moyun and Nangong Li who were standing on their own trees. Just leave them here to watch. Chosun won't do anything to them for Nangong Yu's sake. Zishang pulled Yun Jioga's hand and left. Chosun only glanced at them without saying anything. Zishang brought Yun Jioga about 5 kilometers away from Lady Mountain before saying, Let Fei Fei out. Yun Jioga let Fei Fei out. The dusty little moth circled around her unhappily. It only became happy after eating 2 cherry pills. Go find Lil Red and the natal parasite, Yunjioga instructed. Fei Fei flapped its wings, flew up a little, then flew forward. Yunjioga and Zishang followed closely behind Fei Fei. After about 5 kilometers they realized something was wrong. Aren't we going to Lady Mountain? I feel that Lil Red and the natal parasite are in that mountain. There seems to be something inside. I want to go in. Fei Fei flew up and down, wanting to rush in with Yunjioga. Wait. Yunjioga grabbed Fei Fei and looked at Zishang. Could it be that Jun Yichen and Luo Tian have joined the Five Venoms sect? I'm not sure. Let's wait for Yin Shirley to return first. However, if Jun Yichen and the others really joined the Five Poison sect, it would be a good thing for us. Zishang trusted those two people. Yunjioga nodded, but for some reason he felt that something was wrong. Fei Fei was still making a fuss about going to Goddess Mountain, but Yunjioga directly stuffed it back into the spirit beast bag. Let's go find Cho Sin and the others first. Zishang brought Yunjioga back to the tree where they had been monitoring the goddess. However, he discovered that Cho Sin, Bailey Moyun, Nangong Li, and the others had all disappeared. Where is he? Where did he go? Yunjioga and the others had only been gone for less than 2 hours. Even if the 3 of them had something to do and had to leave, they should have sent them a communication talisman. I can't contact him. Zishang crushed the communication talisman in his hand and began to carefully examine the few trees they had been squatting on. Finally, he found a bit of transparent mucus on the bark of one of the trees. This is a hypnotic spirit-severing worm. They should have been captured by the Five Poison sect. If it was only Nangong Li and Bailey Moyun who were captured, it would have been fine. But Cho Sin is a golden core cultivator. Even he was captured and there was no sign of a fight. The enemy is too powerful. Only a nascent soul cultivator can capture a golden core cultivator without a trace. Zishang's expression was solemn. Although he had recovered his demon heart, it was still not easy to deal with a nascent soul cultivator. There are nascent soul cultivators in the 100,000 mountains? Yunjioga was surprised. Didn't they say that nascent soul cultivators were either in seclusion or strolling in places with more spiritual power? This is the entrance to the mystic realm after all. There might be something special about it. However, if it's like this, I'm afraid Yin Shirley and the others are in danger. Zishang sent a voice transmission talisman to Yin Shirley. There was no reply. As expected, he had also been killed. Why don't we go to Goddess Mountain to take a look? Yunjioga looked at the distant Goddess Mountain. She didn't know if it was her misconception, but she felt that the woman who was lowering her head seemed to be smiling. Go. Zishang was about to draw a concealment talisman on Yunjioga's body, but she stopped him. There's no need for you. Golden light flashed on Yunjioga's body. Runes naturally appeared and she became invisible. Don't use divine power. Zishang frowned. Now was not the time to show off. It's fine if I draw divine power into my spiritual power and mix it. Yunjioga felt that she was simply too smart. If she used spiritual power alone, she would only be a foundation establishment trash. However, if she used divine power, she would be able to reach golden core cultivation. Be careful. Zishang was still worried. Divine power was a unique power in the Blue Waves continent. If those people knew about it, it would cause great trouble. I know. Go. If we are late, they might be skinned and their bones torn apart. Yunjioga pushed Zishang towards Goddess Mountain. The two of them stealthily passed through the wooden fort. Then they hid in the shadows and passed through layer after layer of stilt buildings. Yunjioga carefully sized up the people coming and going. They were all Miao people. They were wearing colorful clothes and there were all kinds of venomous insects on their shoulders and arms. However, the expression of these Miao people was somewhat sluggish. They didn't seem very smart. However, those venomous insects were very powerful. Each of them had their own specialties. If Yunjioga hadn't used divine power to conceal herself, she might have been discovered very quickly. Did you find Jun Yichen and Luo Tian? Yunjioga quietly asked. No, they are not here. Cho Sin and Nangong Li are also not here. Zishang shook his head. His divine sense had already swept through this stilt building. However, he didn't find any trace. Wait, let me ask Fei Fei. Yunjioga secretly released Fei Fei. The gray little moth excitedly flapped its wings and shouted towards the summit of Goddess Mountain. There is good stuff there. Little red and life venomous insect are all there. On the summit of Goddess Mountain there was a temple built with mountain rocks. The faint candlelight was very obvious in the dark night. However, it gave a feeling as if it was far away in the horizon. It seems Chosin and Nangongli should have been captured and brought to that temple. Zishang shifted his gaze towards that temple. His divine sense also spread over there. Yunjioga also opened his spirit eye and looked carefully. However, he discovered that there was a young girl inside that temple. She was nodding her head. As if she sensed someone was spying on her, she turned her head and looked towards Yunjioga. She suddenly smiled sweetly and stretched out her hand as if she wanted to greet Yunjioga. However, it also seemed as if she wanted to grab something. Chapter 460. Not good. Zishang suddenly grabbed Yunjioga and turned to run out of the mountain. The two of them moved as fast as lightning, and in less than 3 breaths of time, they had left the vicinity of Goddess Mountain. Yunjioga turned back to look. Goddess Mountain was still unmoving and there were no changes. There is something spying on us in the temple. I have no way of getting close to her. Zishang's expression was serious. If they hadn't run fast, they would have had a big fight with that thing. Could it be that nascent soul cultivator? Yunjioga felt uncomfortable just thinking about that hazy woman. Not sure. Before he understood the relationship between the temple and the 5 poison sect, he did not want to alert them. Why don't we capture someone to interrogate him? But I've taken a closer look just now. The people living in the stilt houses are all normal Miao people. They look dull and don't look like they know what's going on. Yunjioga recalled the dull eyes of the Miao people. If it wasn't for the thick life energy on them, they would be no different from Een corpses. Let's leave Goddess Mountain for now and go to the 5 poison sect. Een Shirley's cultivation is higher than Chosin and the rest. If he is captured, he should be able to leave behind some clues. Zishang quickly made his decision. How do you know where the 5 poison sect is? Yunjioga asked. I don't know, but I should know this. Zishang flipped his palm and Chun Sanyang's white ball appeared in his hand. When did you get it? Yunjioga was shocked. Wasn't this Chun Sanyang's ball? She has 2, give me 1. Zishang threw the white ball on the ground and ordered, go find your master. The white ball rolled forward. Zishang grabbed Yunjioga's hand and followed the white ball through many twists and turns. Finally, they arrived at an extraordinary tall building. There were 5 stone statues on both sides of the gray door. They were a scorpion, a centipede, a poisonous snake, a toad and a spider. Follow me closely, don't touch their array. Zishang said softly. Yunjioga opened his spiritual eye and found that the 5 poison sects array was also multicolored and covered the entire mountain. This array was much stronger than the one on Goddess Mountain. Zishang sent out a purple demonic aura to open up a path in front of him. Yunjioga followed closely behind him, looking left and right from time to time. However, along the way they did not find any trace of a single disciple. The entire 5 poison sect was like a graveyard. This is too strange. Yunjioga leaned closer to Zishang. He was panicking. It's better if it's weird. Look around, there are still traces of people left behind. This means that there were people here just now, but they suddenly disappeared. Zishang waved his hand and shot out a cloud of purple mist. As expected, the smooth and flat ground showed signs of people walking around. Then where did they go? Could it be that the Empress Mountain has sent a message to capture us? Wouldn't we be walking right into their trap? Yunjioga wanted to retreat. What's there to be afraid of? I was just about to catch the person who cast the net. Zishang wasn't afraid of traps, but of not having any clues. They had just entered Miaojiang and everything was strange. If he did not figure it out, he would not dare to bring Yunjioga into the mystic realm. All right. Yunjioga thought about the whereabouts of Chosin and Junichen's goo worms, and decided to take the risk. The 5 poison sects' dark corridor was filled with the portraits of all sorts of poisonous creatures and Miao people. All of them were staring at Yunjioga and Zishang, the 2 intruders. Yunjioga realized that they were still at the same spot after walking a few rounds in the corridor. However, when he opened his spiritual eye, he could not see any traces of an array. Zishang muttered to himself for a moment, then took out Chun Sanyang's ball. The white ball landed on the ground and rolled outwards. However, it was bounced back by a wall. The white ball continued to roll towards that wall. Zishang kept the white ball and injected his demonic energy into it. The ball was ignited with a purple flame. Within the flame, a pair of small spider eyes could be seen. They were thin and long, and there were even countless of limbs growing out from the bottom. Go! Zishang threw the small blazing spider out. The small spider landed on the ground and fiercely crashed into the wall. With a loud bang, the wall collapsed and shattered into countless pieces. Behind the wall was a spacious and imposing hall. On the left and right were 2 rows of simple but imposing gray stone chairs. At the very top was a spacious throne, which was engraved with images of poisonous creatures. This was the hall where the 5 poison sect received their guests. After the small blazing spider jumped onto the second stone chair on the left, it turned back into the white ball. It seemed like Chun Sanyong had indeed been here. Yun Jioga opened his spiritual eye and saw that the hall was filled with all sorts of sculptures. They were all images of Miao people holding goo worms in their hands. It was indescribably strange. Zishang walked to the front of the throne and stretched out his hand to brush the surface of the chair. However, he did not leave any marks. Did you see anything? Yun Jioga walked to Zishang's side and asked. No. Zishang turned around and looked around. Suddenly his eyebrows twitched. Yun Jioga looked over and realized that he was looking at a stone statue in the corner. Because of the lighting, its appearance was blurry. Yun Jioga opened his spiritual eye and took a closer look. He realized that it was a stone statue of a black spider. It was much bigger than the other stone statues. Moreover, there was a human face carved on the back of the spider. It was a frightened head. Because the expression was too exaggerated and distorted, Yun Jioga could not tell who it was. He could only vaguely tell that it was a woman. Zishang hooked his hand and the white ball jumped into his hand. Can you recognize who this is? Zishang said as he placed the white ball in front of the stone statue. The white ball swayed left and right. Then it tried to stretch out a white thread and stuck it on the face of the stone statue. Kiji. The white ball seemed to explode as countless white threads pounced over. Some of them were even dripping down like a woman crying. This stone statue is Chun Sanyong. Zishang quickly scanned the hall before pointing to the tallest stone statue in the middle. That is the 5 poison sect's leader. Yun Jioga looked over. It was a tall and mighty stone statue of a middle-aged man. He had a spider on his head, a poisonous snake on his left hand and a toad on his right. He was stepping on a scorpion and a centipede respectively. Are they dead? Yun Jioga wanted to touch the stone statue. However, he was stopped by Zishang. We are not sure what happened. Don't touch it. Then what do we do now? They had found them, but they had turned into stone statues that could not speak. There was nothing they could ask. I did not see Ian Shirley. It is possible that he escaped. Let's leave this place first. Zishang waved his hand and called the white ball back. The white ball left its owner unwillingly. Then it slowly retracted the thread that was stuck on the stone statue. Yun Jioga's sharp eyes noticed a gray flash at the end of the thread. He immediately stretched out his hand and sent the ball flying. Chapter 461. The white ball rolled on the ground. In an instant, the gray dot at the end of the ball immediately spread out, and the string ball immediately turned into a stone ball. Yun Jioga pulled Zishang back a few steps. When he looked up, the wall was already shining with gray light and was approaching them. Let's go. Zishang grabbed Yun Jioga and charged out, passing through the hole in the wall and arriving at the corridor. He found that the originally empty corridor was filled with stone statues. Roar, roar, roar. Those gray stone statues roared as they approached Yun Jioga. Zishang stretched out his hand and condensed a spear made of demonic power, stabbing it. The stone statue instantly shattered but soon reformed. At the same time, the wall started to crumble as countless gray stone statue goo worms spewed out gray smoke. Yun Jioga set up a defensive barrier that was infused with divine power, isolating the gray smoke. Zishang charged towards the door with an indomitable will, but the stone statues increased in number and squeezed together. He could not move an inch. The entire 5 Venoms sect seemed to have awakened as more and more stone statues joined in. Zishang broke a pile of stone statues and was immediately drowned by another pile. It was impossible to fly and escape. The sky was already occupied by flying goo worms, covering the sky. In the hall behind him, the 5 Venoms sect leader had also awakened and was roaring angrily and viciously. Follow me closely and charge out when the opportunity arises. Zishang saw that the situation was amiss and decided to use a big move. I got it. Yunjioga put on his flying thunder wings and stood behind Zishang, gathering his spirit energy. Zishang injected demonic power into his spear and shot towards the door. The violent demonic power tore all the obstacles it encountered into pieces. Yunjioga used this opening to escape the whirlpool and arrive near the door. With a cracking sound, the 5 poisonous creatures at the door started to revive and were about to pounce at Yunjioga. At this moment, a gray cold aura spewed out from the southeast corner and froze the 5 poisonous creatures. An ugly woman with white hair and black skin stood at the southeast corner and waved at Yunjioga. Yunjioga charged towards her without hesitation. Zishang, who was at the rear, swung his spear and shattered the pursuing stone statue before following Yunjioga. The 5 poisons who had broken free from the cold aura let out angry roars. After circling around the area once, they could only return to the entrance unwillingly. The entire 5 Venoms sect returned to its initial silence. Are you all right? Zishang looked at Yunjioga nervously. I'm fine. Yunjioga shook his head and turned to look at the woman who had helped them. He was shocked. Yunji, why are you here? Why aren't you by Yiyu's side? This ugly woman with white hair and black skin was the living corpse Yiyunji. Yiyunji did not respond to Yunjioga's question. Instead, she turned around and continued to float forward. Yunjioga followed closely behind her and entered the dense forest. After a few turns, they came to a swamp where gray miasma filled the air. Yiyunji stood still at the edge of the swamp. Many Miao people's figures appeared on the surrounding trees, all holding black crossbows aimed at them. The purplish-black arrowheads glinted with poisonous light. Who are you? Why have you come to the 5 Poison sect? A pretty girl with exquisite facial features appeared in front of Yunjioga, stepping on a colorful butterfly. She wore a red dress with circles of black patterns woven from goose silk. She wore a silver bullhorn headdress on her head. Her cultivation level was at the early stage of foundation establishment. And who are you? Where did you get this living corpse? Yunjioga's expression turned even colder. Yiyunji had actually come out alone. Did something happen to Yiyu? Why, you recognize this living corpse? The pretty girl raised her eyebrows and asked. This is a gift from me to a friend. Yunjioga once had the chance to subdue Yiyunji. However, he had given up on it. So it was right to say that she had given it to Yiyu. Liar, how could this be a gift from you? Fire your arrows and take her down. The pretty girl's expression changed instantly. At her command, the Miao tribesmen who were lying in ambush shot out black arrows towards Yunjioga. Zishang reached out to collect the arrows and shot them back at the Miao people. Plop plop plop. The Miao people all fell from the trees and fell unconscious. The pretty girl's expression changed drastically. She flipped her hand and took out a bronze corpse control bell. She shook it forcefully and then ordered Yiyunji, capture them. Yiyunji's body swayed but she did not move. Hurry. The pretty girl swayed even more violently. The bell rang and Yiyunji's body kept swaying but she did not attack Yunjioga according to her orders. The pretty girl was so angry that she almost smashed the corpse control bell. She stepped on the colorful butterfly beneath her feet and countless goo worms crawled out, surrounding the entire swamp. Yunjioga flapped his thunderstorm wings and his figure flashed past the goo worms to appear in front of the pretty girl. The pretty girl pinched her fingers and the bullhead headdress flew up to fight with Yunjioga. Yunjioga used his evil saber to attack but was sent flying by the bullhead. You're only at the early stage of foundation establishment and you dare to fight me? The pretty girl sneered and wanted to take Yunjioga down. As Yunjioga dodged backwards, his fingers moved slightly. Thunderfire needles silently appeared and pierced into a few major acupoints on the girl's body. The pretty girl found that she had been hit and wanted to run, but she was already caught by Zishang who was waiting on the side. It's useless even if you kill me. The pretty girl angrily glared at Yunjioga. I don't want to kill you, I just want to ask you where you got this corpse control bell and how you know how to control her. Yunjioga took the corpse control bell from the pretty girl's hand and gently shook it. Yiyunji floated to her side. How can you control her? The pretty girl's eyes popped out. This corpse control technique was something she had pestered her elder sister to obtain. Her elder sister gave her the corpse control bell to give her an extra layer of protection. But this corpse did not listen to her at all. As soon as it came out, it slipped away and didn't listen to her when it came back. I'm the one asking you now. Yun Jyoga shook the bell again and Yi Yunji came over to hold the young girl down. Hey, ugly monster, be clear about who's with you. The young girl angrily roared at Yi Yunji. Yi Yunji did not move. Who are you calling ugly monster? Yun Jyoga's anger came out. Yi Yunji was Yi Yu's elder sister, but she was actually being controlled by a little girl who didn't know the immensity of heaven and earth and was even calling her ugly monster. Even if Yi Yunji didn't have any self-awareness, she still couldn't accept this kind of insult. I'm not talking about you. The pretty girl did not have any thoughts of being a prisoner at all. She still had an expression of, you don't dare do anything to this old lady. Yun Jyoga really wanted to beat her up, but he didn't dare act rashly before understanding her. What's your name? Zishang spoke. His indifferent eyes split into three and turned like a kaleidoscope. Chapter 462. The pretty girl looked at Zishang's demon eyes and couldn't help saying, I'm called Wu Ya. I'm the daughter of the 5 poison sects sect master. My big sister told me to bring some people to watch over the 5 poison sect. Who is your big sister and where did you get this corpse from? Zishang asked. My big sister is Wu Lan and this corpse is brother Yi Yu's. He is currently heavily injured and was sealed. Before he was sealed he gave this corpse to my big sister to use. Wu Ya said. Yi was injured? Yun Jyoga was shocked and couldn't help asking, what kind of injury did Yi Yu receive? Is it serious? He was cursed and half his body turned into stone. He can only rely on the seal to alleviate it. Wu Ya continued to say. Why was he cursed and where did the power of the curse come from? Yun Jyoga's eyes were fierce as he continued to ask. I don't know where the power of the curse came from. Big sister Wulan and I went out to do some things and when we came back we found that father and the people had all turned into stone. It was brother Yi Yu who saved us, but he was also infected with the power of the curse. Wu Ya's voice was low and her face was filled with pain. Bring us to find Yu. Zishang ordered. Wu Ya led the way. Zishang and Yun Jyoga followed her through the swamp and after several turns, they arrived at a flat valley. The valley was like Goddess Mountain. It was surrounded by pine trees and there were several defensive arrays behind it. The valley was filled with stilt houses and there were many normal Miao people living in it. There were several black figures flying in the sky and the patrolling soldiers on them saw Wu Ya coming alone with 2 strangers. They immediately sounded the alarm. The entire valley was like boiling water. The normal Miao people all retreated into the caves. The Miao people with cultivation bases formed small teams and hid behind the buildings in the valley, ready to attack at any time. Call Wu Lan out. Yun Jyoga's cold voice spread throughout the valley. Because of Wu Ya's attitude towards Yi Yunji, she did not have any good feelings towards this Wu Lan that she had never met before. Not long after, a giant black eagle appeared in the sky above the valley. On top of it stood an early gold core stage, a valiant-looking woman. Her skin was the color of wheat and her eyes were wild. Her hair was tied up high and she was dressed in black men's clothing. She looked like a decisive woman. Who are you? Why are you attacking my little sister? When Wu Lan saw the corpse control bell in Yun Jyoga's hand and Yi Yunji, who was holding on to Wu Lan, her expression became very serious. I am Yi Yu's friend. It was your sister who attacked us first, Yun Jyoga replied coldly. What proof do you have that you are Yi Yu's friend? Black Orchid raised her slender eyebrows. Do you think this can prove it? Yun Jyoga smirked and suddenly shook the corpse control bell. Yi Yunji let go of Wu Lan and disappeared from where she was like a ghost. She then appeared in front of Wu Lan, her fingers stabbing towards her chest like knives. Black Orchid raised her hand to block, but was invaded by Yi Yunji's cold qi. She hurriedly used her spiritual power to expel the cold air, and the black eagle beneath her opened its mouth to spit out several green wind blades towards Yi Yunji. Yun Jyoga waved her hand, and Yi Yunji returned to her side. Is this proof enough? Yun Jyoga asked calmly. It's enough, but I didn't know that Yi Yu had this kind of friend. He's even more skilled at controlling the scene corpse than he is. Black Orchid's seemingly straightforward words were actually filled with probing. You don't know because you're not familiar enough with him. Yun Jyoga gave a mocking smile. Miss, do you have some sort of misunderstanding towards me? Black Orchid knit her brows, not understanding how she had offended this person. You're thinking too much. I want to see Yi Yu. Can you lead the way? Yun Jyoga did not want to talk about Yi Yunji. Of course, but shouldn't you put my sister down first? Black Orchid sent the Black Eagle in front of Yoonjioga. There's no rush, let's see Yiyu first. Yoonjioga gave a fake smile. This Black Orchid did not care about Yoonji, who knew how she treated Yiyu. It seems like you really care about Yiyu, then come with me. Black Orchid did not look at her sister anymore, sending the Black Eagle flying into the valley. Yoonjioga took out the evil blade and stepped on it with Zishang. Yoonji carried Wuya and flew through the air, following beside them. Right, I haven't asked for your names yet. Black Orchid asked with a smile. My surname is Yun. Yoonjioga had no intention of introducing Zishang at all. So it's Miss Yun. Black Orchid did not ask any further. I heard that your 5 Venoms sect has been cursed? Yoonjioga asked from the air. Yes, right now the valley is filled with the believers who went out with me on the mission as well as their families. Black Orchid answered without hesitation. Where did the curse come from? Yoonjioga asked again. I don't know. Black Orchid shook her head, her face full of worry. Yoonjioga was about to ask if it had anything to do with Goddess Mountain, but Zishang stopped her. There's no rush, we can talk about this after we see Yiyu. You're right. Yoonjioga exhaled, calmed down and did not ask any further. Black Orchid's Black Eagle landed on the tallest 3-story building in the valley. This building was built entirely out of black stone, exuding an icy aura from the inside out. This is an ice stone I dug out from the land of frost years ago. It has a special effect on suppressing the curse. Black Orchid got off the Black Eagle and walked towards the building. Yoonjioga followed behind her and saw black coffins covered in runes placed on the walls inside. The coffins had no lids and he could clearly see the half-petrified Miao people inside. Some of the Miao people had already turned into stone statues. Only their heads were still humanoid, their eyes tightly shut as they lay inside the stone coffins. These are all people who were cursed in the past. I sealed them here in hopes that one day I would find a way to remove the curse. Black Orchid's expression was pained. These were all her most loyal guards, but now they could only be sealed here. I've been to your 5 Venoms sect and saw the petrified cult master. His cultivation doesn't seem to have disappeared. Yoonjioga looked at Black Orchid. After those who are cursed are turned into stone statues, they will be controlled by a mysterious power to attack us. If we are injured by them, we will be infected. Father doesn't remember us at all now. Black Orchid's heart ached at the thought of her father. She let out a long sigh and pulled herself together, asking Yoonjioga, what business does Miss Yun have in the 100,000 mountains? I rushed here because I received Yiyu's letter for help. Where's he now? Yoonjioga spoke empty words. He's on the top floor. Black Orchid clearly did not believe him, but she did not ask any further and led Yoonjioga and the others up. The stone statues of the Miao people on the 2nd floor were lighter than the first and there were fewer of them. When they reached the 3rd floor, they saw a black coffin placed right in the middle. Yiyu lay calmly in the coffin. Chapter 463. Yoonjioga looked carefully and found that there were no major wounds on Yiyu's body. It was just that everything from his thighs down had turned into gray stone. When Yoonji saw Yiyu, she immediately threw Wuya to the ground and floated to Yiyu's side to protect him. What is your relationship with Yiyu? Yoonjioga was truly worried that Yiyu and Black Orchid were having an affair. In the past it was Lu Yunfei and now it was Wulan. His taste in women was just too bad. Yiyu and I only met by chance. When we were trapped in the 5 Poison sect and were about to be annihilated, it was Yiyu who brought his corpses and brought us out of there. He is the benefactor of our 5 Poison sect. Wulan said as she looked at Yiyu. Since he is your benefactor, why are you ordering his corpses around like little soldiers? Yoonjioga asked without any politeness. Miss, I think you have misunderstood. First, this corpse is not Yiyu's life source corpse. I have already asked him about this. Second, I did not treat this corpse as a little soldier that I could order around. Before Yiyu was sealed, he gave this corpse to me and let me take this corpse to find a way to break the curse. It wasn't convenient for me to patrol the base, so I could only let my little sister run errands outside. I was afraid something would happen to her, so I gave this corpse to her to protect herself. In order to find a way to remove the power of Yiyu's curse, we couldn't sleep at night and ran all over the place. Yiyu and the people on the 1st floor were cursed at the same time, but the curse has only spread to his legs. We've also paid a huge price. Wu Lan was still complaining, but she was coldly interrupted by Yun Jioga. Since you gave Yi Yu's corpse to your little sister, you should teach her what respect is. My little sister is young, sometimes she doesn't pay attention to what she says. I hope you won't lower yourself to her level. Wu Lan also knew her little sister's character. She had always thought that this corpse was ugly, but she never thought that it would offend someone. Before Yi Yu wakes up, this corpse is under my care. Yun Jioga lightly said. Of course. Wu Lan's heart was uncomfortable, but the corpse was already under Yun Jioga's control, so she couldn't do anything about it. Excuse me, I want to be alone with Yi Yu for a while. Yun Jioga wanted to give Yi Yu a detailed examination, but it was really inconvenient for Black Orchid to be present. Alright, I'll be waiting for you on the first floor. Just give me a shout if you need anything. Black Orchid nodded considerately, and when she turned to leave she didn't let Wu Ye go along with her. This woman is not simple. She knows when to yield and when to stand tall, Zishang said indifferently. Yun Jioga's cultivation base was only at the early stage of the foundation establishment realm, but Wu Lan, a golden core cultivator, was extremely polite to her. It was truly rare. I thought she did it because of you? Yun Jioga was already used to the courtesy of a golden core cultivator. I hid my aura just now so she didn't notice me. Zishang was in a semi-invisible state just now. Now that you mention it, I also feel that this Wu Lan is very scheming. It seems that we need to be careful when dealing with her. Yun Jioga nodded, then went to the side of the sarcophagus to look at Yi Yu. At this time Yi Yu's cultivation level was already close to the middle stage of foundation establishment, but because of the power of the curse, the spiritual energy in his dantian was completely stagnant. Zishang, what do you think this power of the curse is? Yun Jioga opened her spiritual eye, and only saw a ball of sticky gray liquid tightly blocking Yi Yu's lower limbs. I've never seen power like this before. Zishang shook his head. He wanted to pull some out to inspect, but he was worried that it would affect Yun Jioga. Yun Jioga had the same concern. This power of the curse of unknown origin was like an extremely infectious virus. Before she had prepared her defenses, she didn't dare to touch it. But Yi Yu's power is spreading a little slowly. Yun Jioga thought of the petrified Miao people on the first and second floor. They had been cursed for a shorter period of time than Yi Yu, but their speed was much faster. As for Black Orchid's bullshit about them paying a huge price, she didn't believe a single one of her fingers. At this time, Yi Yunji suddenly stood up, and placed her palm on Yi Yu's leg. Pure cold Yin Qi entered his legs and the gray power of the curse retreated slightly. I see. Yun Jioga realized. Yi Yunji had a Yin spirit physique, and the Yin spirit Qi in her body could actually stop the power of the curse from spreading. Then would her divine power have the same effect? Your divine power has no problem dealing with this bit of power of the curse, but you can't use it here. Zishang saw through Yun Jioga's thoughts. I'm not that stupid. If she removed the power of the curse in Yi Yu's body, then Black Orchid would definitely ask her to help remove the Miao people on the first and second floor, including the people from the Five Poison cult. If this was a normal time, saving people was not a big deal. But her most important mission this time was to find the entrance to the secret realm, and find clues about Li Wei and the catastrophe. She didn't have the extra energy to be a good person. And she didn't know what was going on with Cho Sin and Junie Chen. Her divine power was limited and she had to take it easy. First floor of the ice building. After Black Orchid woke her sister up, she was questioning her about Yun Jioga with a straight face. I don't know where she came from. Wu Ye said with a wronged expression, the corpse you gave me wasn't useful at all. I had her patrol the surroundings, but who would have thought she would go to the Five Poison cult and lead those two people over? Black Orchid asked and asked, but she couldn't get any clues about Yun Jioga's group from her sister's mouth, so she changed the topic. What did you do to that corpse? Why were they so angry? I didn't do anything. Wu Ye had a sullen expression. Didn't she just call that corpse ugly? What was wrong with that? You better pay attention in the future. This is Yi Yu's corpse after all, it's not your goo. Black Orchid snappily said. I know, sister, you have to be careful of those two people, especially that girl, she's very strong. Don't think that she's only at the foundation establishment realm, she's very hidden. She subdued me in one move, I still don't know how I fell. Wu Ye said in a worried voice. Your rainbow butterfly goo and bullhead goo are useless against her? Black Orchid raised her eyebrows. Although her little sister was disappointing, she had refined goo since she was young. Normal early foundation establishment realm cultivators wouldn't be able to take advantage of her. It's useless, she's not afraid of those goo at all. Wuya shook her head. Her invincible goo were even a bit afraid of that girl. It's good that she's strong. No matter what, she's Yiyu's friend, so she's our friend. Black Orchid was lacking people to help, having a strong person was better than having trash. Chapter 464. Right, how is Big Brother Yiyu? Is he feeling better? Have you found the reason why he's stopping the curse from spreading? Wuya glanced at the third floor of the building and asked in a low voice. No. Black Orchid shook her head, her gaze sweeping across the sealed parishioners. The people sealed in this building were all parishioners who had decent cultivation bases and were loyal to her. These believers were cursed at the same time as Yiyu, but the power of the curse stayed on his legs and was slowly fading away. However, many of her believers were completely petrified and had been thrown into the cellar to be sealed. During this time she had been observing Yiyu's condition day and night. She had even secretly obtained some of his blood for examination, but he was no different from the other believers. If she could find the secret behind it, the 5 poison sect might be saved. Sister, don't be discouraged. We will definitely find a way to save Father and the believers. Wuya comforted her sister. Alright, you don't have to worry about things here. Hurry up and bring some people to the swamp to get the poison believers back. I'll go up and see how their discussion is going. Wu Lan sent her worried sister away and walked up to the 3rd floor. By then Yun Jioga had finished examining Yiyu and was just in time to see Wu Lan when he opened the door. Miss Wu Lan, you've come at the right time. I wanted to discuss something with you. Yun Jioga said lightly. Miss Yun, please speak. Wu Lan smiled. I want to take Yiyu away. Yun Jioga said directly. Wu Lan was stunned and asked hurriedly, why? Did we fail you in some way? No, I just want to take him away from the 100,000 mountains and find a friend to see if they can undo the curse on him. This was the excuse Yun Jioga and Zishang had come up with after discussion. Miss Yun, you might not know this, but those who are cursed will immediately turn to dust once they leave the 100,000 mountains, Wu Lan said seriously. I've already done experiments. Even those who have stayed in the 5 poison sect for a long time will turn to dust once they leave the 100,000 mountains, much less those who have already started petrifying. In other words, you might already be infected with the curse, but it has not started acting up yet. If you leave now, you might die. There's such a thing? Yun Jioga had not expected the power of the curse to be so overbearing. It was even scarier than the plague. Miss Yun, these ice stones can suppress the power of the curse. We usually go out for too long, and when we come back we will meditate here. I dare say that there is no better place in the 100,000 mountains than here. Moreover, we owe Yiyu a debt of gratitude, so I cannot just watch you bring him into danger. Wu Lan advised earnestly. Why don't we stay and observe the situation first? Yun Jioga looked at Zishang. They had a common enemy with Black Orchid, so there was no need to make things so tense. Up to you. Zishang was indifferent. That's right, why didn't you let me ask her about the goddess mountain just now? Yun Jioga asked via voice transmission. Wait for her to ask herself. Trust me, she's definitely more anxious than we are, Zishang said meaningfully. All right. Yun Jioga felt that Zishang was more black-bellied than him, so it was definitely the right choice to listen to him. Miss Yun, what do you think? After speaking for a long time, Black Orchid saw that Yun Jioga did not respond at all and felt a little uncertain. We'll talk about this later. What I'm curious about is, Miss Wu, you've been investigating the power of the curse for so long, don't you have any clues at all? Yun Jioga asked. You won't believe me if I say that I don't have any clues. In reality, before the power of the curse appeared, my father suddenly said that he had received instructions from God, and then he built a divine temple on Goddess Mountain, and sent a bunch of Miao people to guard it. After the divine temple was built, something happened to our 5 poison sect. Black Orchid felt that Yun Jioga would not act until she saw the rabbit, and felt that she had to give her some benefits. God's instructions? Interesting, she had been a goddess for so many years, but she had never seen a god's instructions. Yun Jioga smiled coldly, then continued to ask Black Orchid, then didn't you send anyone to the divine temple on Goddess Mountain to take a look? I sent many people in, but not a single one came out alive, including the goo worms. When Black Orchid spoke of Goddess Mountain, Fear appeared on her face. Although she had never entered it, just looking at the divine mountain from afar made her feel fear from the depths of her soul. Yoon frowned. It looked like she would have to go to Goddess Mountain to find the final secret. Not necessarily. Black Orchid still has something else to say. Zishang secretly transmitted his voice to Yoon. Seriously, can't these people just tell us the truth? What's the point of hiding it like this? Yoon was venting her anger on him. You've just arrived today. Even an idiot wouldn't tell us everything immediately. Zishang was speaking the truth. Right. Yoon admitted that Zishang was right. I'll try him again when I have the chance. Zishang comforted Yoon. It's all up to you. Yoon was relieved. Black Orchid had been sneaking glances at Yoon expression all this time. She saw that her expression was constantly changing and she had no idea what she was thinking. She also felt slightly uneasy. Miss Black Orchid, I've decided to stay and search for the reason behind the power of the curse with you. I'll be in your care in the future. Yoon finished her transmission with Zishang and gave Black Orchid a friendly smile. That's really great. Black Orchid let out a sigh of relief and then asked half-jokingly, I wonder what Miss Yoon came to the 100,000 Mountains for. Don't tell me that Yi sent you a distress signal. Our 100,000 Mountains is filled with poisonous miasma. Wanting to send a communication talisman is harder than reaching the heavens. I won't hide it from you, I'm actually a disciple of the Corpse sect. This time I accompanied 2 of our sect's Golden Core seniors to visit the 5 Poison Sect Master, but I didn't think that they would never return. After I snuck into the 5 Poison Sect, I found that one of the Golden Core had already turned into a stone statue, and the other Golden Core had disappeared. When I escaped I saw Yi use Corpse, so I followed her to find you. Yoon words were half true and half false. I wonder what your Corpse sect seniors came to find my father for? Black Orchid had already guessed that Yoon was a member of the Corpse sect. I'm not sure about that, the seniors didn't say, but I'm guessing that they're here to ask for goo. Yoon shook her head. Her words were reasonable. The 100,000 Mountains had a rich variety of goo, and they could even customize their functions so they were much better than spirit beasts. When some sects had special needs they would also specially come to ask for goo. So that's how it is. You said that a golden core disappeared, then where did he go? Black Orchid continued to ask. I was just about to ask you. You've always been monitoring the 5 Poison sect in the swamp. Did you see anyone escape? Yoon wanted to find Shirley, so she needed Black Orchid's help. Chapter 465. I'll have to investigate this thoroughly. To tell you the truth, the people I've sent to keep an eye on him are all regular Qi condensation disciples. If it was a golden core cultivator who escaped, I'm afraid they wouldn't be able to tell. Black Orchid was slightly troubled. Miss Wulon, please think of a way. If you can find me a golden core senior, we'll have another helper. Yoon requested solemnly. I'll try my best, but for the sake of caution please come with me. Wulon invited sincerely, wanting to use this opportunity to get closer to Yoon. Alright, I'll go with you. Yoon left Yi Yoonji by Yi Yu's side to protect him, and returned to the valley with the invisible Zishang and Wulon. Inside the valley, Wuya was organizing people to treat the people Zishang had attacked. Zishang had been merciful just now. Other than being shot by his poison arrows, these people didn't suffer any other injuries. They would be fine after drinking the antidote. Have Wuya come to the hall, I have something to talk to her about. Wulon ordered her guard. Yes. The guard answered respectfully and immediately went to find Wuya. Wulon brought Yoon to the hall, warmly invited her to sit and personally served her tea. This is our Miaojiang's special golden tea. Have a taste, Miss Yoon. Good tea. Yoon praised, smelling the tea. Just as she was about to drink it, Wuya came. Sister, were you looking for me? Yes, you've been guarding the swamp these past few days. Did you notice anything unusual about our 5 Venoms sect? Wulon asked. Wuya glanced at Yoon and said, didn't anything unusual sit beside you? Don't be rude. Wulon frowned and reprimanded her before continuing to ask, other than Miss Yoon, did anyone else leave 5 Venoms sect like Golden Core cultivators? Golden Core cultivators? I didn't see them. Wuya shook her head guiltily. She hadn't been paying much attention to 5 Venoms these past few days. Miss Wuya, Our sect's golden core cultivators probably visited 5 venoms in the early hours of the morning. Think carefully, did you notice anything unusual at that time? Yun Jioga put down her teacup. Chun San-yong, a golden core cultivator, had turned into a stone statue. Why is your sect's senior visiting someone in the wee hours of the morning? Wuya said snappily. She was resting in the wee hours of the morning and was not in the swamp at all. All right, call all the believers who have been stationed in the swamp over the past few days. I'll ask them myself. Black Orchid knew her sister's personality as well. Asking her was a complete waste of time, so she might as well ask the believers. Wuya reluctantly went down to call for help. Black Orchid asked personally, and in the end an old Meow Man provided a clue. In the wee hours of the morning, a strong gust of wind suddenly blew outside. It looks like it's heading southwest. Are there any places with especially thick yin qi in the southwest? Yun Jioga asked Wulon. Yes, there is a place of extreme yin over there, and the yin energy there is very thick. Black Orchid had grown up in the 100,000 mountains, and knew the surroundings like the back of her hand. Looks like that senior has gone there to recuperate. I wonder if it's convenient for Miss Black Orchid to bring us there. Having someone to lead the way was better than Yun Jioga wandering around blindly. Of course. Then let's depart now. Black Orchid really wanted another golden core cultivator to help her. Sister, I'll go too, Wuya said with her large rolling eyes. Stay here and look after the camp. Don't cause me any trouble. Black Orchid didn't want her disappointing sister to offend an esteemed guest again. Wuya pouted, and when her eyes landed on Yun Jioga, she scanned her surroundings. She vaguely remembered that when she was captured she saw an extremely beautiful man. Could it be an illusion? Miss Yun, there are many trees and miasma in the 100,000 mountains. Flying on artifacts will be a lot of hindrances. Would you like to choose a black eagle as your ride? Black Orchid suggested kindly. The black eagles of their 5 venom sect were a combination of spirit beast and goo beast. Not only did they know the terrain of the 100,000 mountains like the back of their hands, they could even automatically protect their master and fend off enemies. That's exactly what I was thinking. I'll have to trouble Miss Black Orchid to arrange it. Black Orchid fawned over everything, and Yun Jioga wouldn't always give her a hard time. Our 5 venom sect has an eagle garden. Miss Yun, come pick one with me. Black Orchid brought Yun Jioga to the cliff where they kept the black eagles. They saw mighty and majestic black eagles perched on the cliffs, looking down at them and letting out loud and clear cries. They were gossiping. Big Sister Black Orchid has brought someone again. This chick isn't bad. I like her. With your burly appearance, do you think you're worthy of such a delicate chick? Only someone as handsome as this young master can do it. Yun Jioga listened to the idle chatter of the eagles and found it a little funny. As expected, food and lust were part of human nature. Even eagles knew how to pick good-looking masters. Miss Yun, have you taken a look? Do you want me to recommend one for you? Black Orchid realized that Yun Jioga was a person with her own ideas. She didn't dare to recommend her rashly, afraid that she would misunderstand. These eagles are all very good. Yun Jioga was about to choose one randomly when Zishang transmitted to her. Choose the one in the 3rd cave on the left. That one is too fat. Yun Jioga looked in the direction Zishang pointed at in shock. She was instantly speechless. She saw a round-headed and extremely fat black eagle squatting in the cave. If she didn't look closely, she would think that it was a meat pigeon. That one's cultivation is already close to golden core. It's just that it hasn't developed intelligence yet, Zishang said softly. How is that possible? Demonic beasts could only cultivate and become spirit beasts after developing intelligence. Foundation establishment demonic beasts could already communicate with their consciousness. Some of them were also very fluent in speech. Like Chun San-yong, who was extremely talented and cultivated seduction techniques, she often dual cultivated with male cultivators. She could even transform in advance. No matter how slow it was impossible for a golden core cultivator to not have developed intelligence. If you can't, you can take a look yourself. Zishang didn't know how to explain and decided to let Yun Jioga see for herself. Yun Jioga opened her spiritual eye and looked carefully. She saw that the fat eagle's demonic energy was extremely dense. Even though it was a golden core cultivator, there was a strange golden gray energy blocking its forehead. That was why it looked so dazed. What's that thing on its forehead? Yoon-jyoga looked again and again but couldn't figure out anything. I can't tell either. Choose it first, then study it properly when we get back. Zishang suggested Yoon-jyoga to choose that fat eagle because of this. Otherwise, if it was just a mount, there were so many black eagles here that any one of them could do the job. All right. Yoon-jyoga nodded. Black Orchid, who was waiting at the side, said, I choose that one. This one. Black Orchid looked at the black eagle whose face was so fat that she couldn't even see it clearly. Since when did her eagle park have such a fat black eagle? Chapter 466. That's right, the fattest one. Yoon-jyoga nodded. Before Wu-lan could say anything, all the black eagles in the eagle garden became excited. She actually chose that food-snatching monster? Thank heavens, someone is finally going to tame that damn meat eagle. Motherf *cur, I don't know where this meat eagle came from, squatting here and snatching food from us every day. If we resist even a little, we will be beaten half to death. This baby is so wronged. A tall black eagle said with a grievance. Mission, this black eagle is too fat. You should change to another one. Look at that mid-stage foundation establishment one on the left. It has the highest cultivation in our eagle garden, and it's also very obedient. Wu-lan's conscience suggested that Yoon-jyoga change to another eagle. Yoon-jyoga looked at the middle stage black eagle. It was the one that said it was wronged. Feeling Yoon-jyoga's gaze, it immediately raised its head and puffed out its chest. It paced around the branches of the cliff. Then it spread its wings and circled in the air, warning the other black eagles with its eyes, but it didn't dare to approach the fattest one. To each his own. I just feel like I'm fated with this one, so I'll take it. Yoon-jyoga smiled. Alright then. Wu-lan also knew that devil cultivators had always been strange and had different hobbies and interests. Maybe they just thought that the meat eagle was mighty. Then can I imprint it now? As long as he imprinted the spiritual imprint on the meat eagle, he could tame it. Of course it's yours now. Wu-lan looked as if she could do whatever she wanted. Heavens, she's serious. Everyone run before the food-snatching monster unleashes its power. The big black eagle screeched in fear. The group of black eagles instantly scattered. Wu-lan was still a little confused when she saw Yoon-jyoga pinch his fingers with a serious expression and shoot a faint purple spirit light at the meat eagle. The meat eagle, which had been pretending to sleep, suddenly opened its eyes. Its eyes covered in fat flashed with a sharp light. It opened its fat wings and flapped, sending Yoon-jyoga's purple spirit light flying. It really was a golden core cultivation. Yoon-jyoga's fighting spirit rose. His hands moved like wheels and formed seals again. The purple spirit light shot towards the meat eagle like a meteor shower. Oeo. The meat eagle was enraged. It spread its wings and shot toward Yoon-jyoga like a cannonball. Wherever it went, the purple light dissipated. How dare you? Black Orchid hadn't noticed anything unusual about this meat eagle. Seeing that it dared to resist, he shot out a black chain to help Yoon-jyoga restrain it. The meat eagle opened its sharp red beak and spat out a series of red fireballs that looked like small cannons. In an instant, the black chain was melted into molten iron. Wu-lan's eyes widened in shock. This iron chain was a level 3 artifact she had bought from the Tower of 10,000 Treasures during her travels. It was usually very useful for tying up disobedient demon beast. She did not expect it to be destroyed. Only now did she realize that this kind of strength was at least at the gold core stage. The meat eagle was getting angrier and angrier. The feathers on its body turned into flames, and its head swelled several times in size. The fireballs it spat out were the size of fists, and the temperature of the entire eagle park rose. The black eagles circling in the distance couldn't help but rejoice at their speed when they saw this. Even Black Orchid couldn't withstand the heat and flew away. Zishang, hurry and help me stop it. Yoon-jyoga saw that the black eagle was too ferocious. She didn't want to expose the secret of the Thunderfire Needle and God power, so she could only ask Zishang for help. Zishang raised his hand and shot out a spiritual rope, trapping the meat eagle firmly. Yoon-jyoga took the opportunity to imprint a divine sense on the meat eagle, and heard it struggle with all its might. Woo, the food here is delicious. I don't want to go. So it turned out to be a foodie. That would be easy to deal with. Yoon-jyoga took out 2 cherry pills and stuffed them into its mouth. Come with me and you'll have spirit pills to eat every day. Delicious. The meat eagle's eyes lit up after swallowing the cherry pill, and it immediately contracted with Yoonjyoga obediently. From now on you're called Dummy. Yoonjyoga patted Dummy's big fat head, and looked up at the distant black orchid. Now that I have a mount, can you take me to the Inchi Valley to take a look? Of course, then let's go now. Black Orchid had already discovered that this dummy was an outsider, but she didn't think much of it. Although a golden core mount was good, it was useless if it didn't listen. Black Orchid's big black eagle had a very down-to-earth name. It was called Dashun. It looked majestic and had a cultivation level of late foundation establishment. One look and you could tell that it was a demonic beast that had seen the world. When Dummy saw Yoonjyoga, it didn't feel anything special. Under its master's command, it led the way to the Inchi Valley. Yoonjyoga sat on Dummy's chubby back and Zishang stood behind her in stealth. The sky above the 100,000 mountains was shrouded in mist. If one flew using artifacts, they would have to open their spirit eyes to see the road. Also, flying too high would make it hard to see, and flying too low would make it easy to crash into trees. Having a mount really saved a lot of trouble. We're here. That's the Inchi Valley. Black Orchid pointed at a valley in front of them that was shrouded in Inchi. Yoonjyoga stood up and saw that the valley was filled with thick Inchi, and there were even traces of blood chi roiling within it. It looked very ominous. Dummy, go down and take a look, Yoonjyoga ordered. No, it's dangerous. Dummy circled above the valley, unwilling to go down. Big Shun also seemed very annoyed. In the end he actually turned and ran away with Black Orchid. Forget it, we'll go down ourselves. Dummy, find a place nearby and wait for me. Yoonjyoga patted Dummy on the head, then grabbed Zishang's hand and jumped down into the valley. The instant they landed, an indescribably strange smell assailed their nostrils, and everything became gray and hazy. Release your white bone monkey. There's something strange about this place, Zishang said softly. What's strange? Yoonjyoga asked as she released the white bone monkey. Kacha kacha kacha. After the white bone monkey landed on the ground, its soul flame wildly flickered, and its mouth moved up and down as if it had seen something terrifying. What's wrong? Isn't this Inchi that you like? Yoonjyoga asked curiously. How is this Inchi? This is clearly demonic chi, alright? In any case, this isn't my cup of tea. I don't want to eat it. The white bone monkey sent its consciousness to Yoonjyoga, then shrank back to the size of a palm and jumped back into the storage bag. Hey. What demonic chi? What do you mean? Just as Yoonjyoga was about to grab the white bone monkey and ask it for clarification, the cute baby's voice sounded out. Don't force it. The chi here is very chaotic. There's yin chi, demonic chi, and demonic chi all mixed together. If it stays here any longer, it'll become an idiotic little monkey. How do you know that the chi here is chaotic? Aren't you a freaking alchemy cauldron? Little Grass told me. Master, you didn't forget about her, did you? The cute baby was a bit dissatisfied. Little Grass was raised by him to be filial to his master. If he didn't take her seriously, it would be the same as not taking him seriously. Chapter 467. Who said that? I can forget anyone but Xiao Chao. Yoonjyoga would not admit that she had long forgotten about the demonic fetus. That's more like it. The cute little baby did not doubt him and gestured like an old man. In this situation we need Xiao Chao. Quickly let it out. Can it really do it? Yoonjyoga's impression of Xiao Chao was that of a tire baby. Of course. The cute little baby looked confident. Yoonjyoga let Xiao Chao out and found that the tire baby was already as big as a 1-year-old child. Xiao Chao had red lips and white teeth. Her facial features were exquisite, and she looked somewhat similar to Yoonjyoga. She had a white and chubby body with only a grass skirt around her waist. Her 2 chubby feet were also bare. Master. Xiao Chao waved her chubby little hands and hugged Yoonjyoga's calf. Come on, quickly put on your clothes. Yoonjyoga guiltily took out a piece of cloth woven from spirit silk. The chubby little boy had been born for so long, yet she did not even prepare clothes. She was really incompetent. No, Ding Ding has prepared clothes for me. Xiao Chao twisted her body and the grass skirt around her waist became a green jumpsuit. Uncomfortable, I don't like it. The jumpsuit changed back into a grass skirt in less than a quarter of an hour. This child loved the feeling of running around naked in the most primitive way. If you don't like it, then don't wear it. Zishang saw that Xiao Qiao looked like Yunjioge and immediately loved her. Thank you, my king. Xiao Qiao showed a flattering smile to Zishang. Clothes are a small matter. The most important thing now is to find Shirley. Xiao Qiao, can you help us find him? Yunjioge still remembered his purpose of coming to the valley. Xiao Qiao waved her little hands and black demonic energy swayed back and forth, causing the Yin energy in the valley to ripple. A strange buzzing sound came from the depths of the valley and spread out like a tide. The person you are looking for is in that cave, but there are many small bugs inside. Follow me closely and I'll bring you in. Xiao Qiao clapped her hands and said. Aren't you afraid of those small bugs? Yunjioge asked curiously. With Master here, I'm not afraid of anything. Xiao Qiao shook her head and the fat on her cheeks swayed. Right, you lead the way. I'll cover you from behind. Yunjioge took out the thunderfire needle. If anything went wrong, he would immediately rescue Xiao Qiao. Don't be afraid, this little fellow is very powerful. Zishang patted Yunjioge's nervous arm and pulled her to follow behind Xiao Qiao. Although Xiao Qiao looked fat, she ran quite fast. Her two short legs clattered as she rushed into a cave deep in the valley. The cave was deep and long, and the deeper they went, the stronger the strange smell became. Slow down. Yunjioge anxiously watched as Xiao Qiao ran further and further away. Zishang raised his hand and flicked out a thin purple spirit thread, which he tied around Xiao Cao's chubby arm. She followed it around and around until they arrived at a spacious cave. The cave was filled with fog and the surroundings could not be seen clearly at all. Ah, there are so many little bugs here. It's so disgusting. Xiao Cao's shriek came from the fog. Yunjioge and Zishang rushed over and saw that the walls and ceiling of the cave were filled with grayish-white stone worms. They were about the size of a thumb and their surfaces had already been petrified. However, there were white spots the size of rice grains in the middle, densely packed on the wall. It was extremely disgusting. These are the mountain drilling worms that have been cursed. Zishang hurriedly put up a defensive barrier. Xiao Qiao, come back. Yunjioge immediately pulled Xiao Qiao back. I'm going to kill these bad bugs. Xiao Qiao clapped her hands and a black demonic flame landed on the grayish-white worms. With a loud boom, the gray gas instantly ignited. The stone worms struggled and screamed. After the layer of gray light on their surface was burned away by the demonic flame, the white light suddenly expanded and devoured the flame. Then their bodies rapidly grew. These worms can actually devour demonic energy. Zishang's expression became serious. Xiao Cao's demonic flame and his demonic energy were both part of the world's energies. If these stone worms could devour vital energy, then they could devour his demonic energy. Let me try. Yunjioge also summoned his divine fire. The golden flame with a hint of white light landed on the bodies of the worms. The white bone flame was instantly extinguished, but the golden flame completely burned them. They can only devour my white bone flame. They can't do anything to my divine fire. Yunjioge let out a sigh of relief. If these worms could even devour divine fire, then it would be too terrifying. However, Zishang didn't relax. If his demonic fire couldn't solve the problem in front of him, then what right did he have to stand beside Yunjioge and protect her? Kill them, kill them. Xiao Qiao was still angrily attacking the stone worms. Some were killed but some evolved. Zishang suddenly had an idea. He said to Xiao Qiao, change your method. Don't attack them but fight for their vital energy. What? Xiao Qiao turned her head and looked at Zishang with a confused expression. Do it like me. Zishang pinched his fingers and shot out a purplish-black demonic fire. It turned into a mouth with sharp teeth and swallowed the worms, fighting for their vital energy. At first, because there were too many worms, the demonic fire mouth couldn't handle them all. However, it quickly found a way to deal with them. It broke them up and killed them one by one. The strong prey on the weak, survival of the strong. Yunjioge immediately understood. Fight for it, fight for it. Xiao Qiao was originally a demonic embryo. Growing up by devouring was instinctive to her. She waved her small hands and the demonic energy in her body condensed into a demonic incarnation to fight for the vital energy with the worms. The worms that had their white energy taken away would turn into stone and be smashed by Xiao Qiao. I'll look after Xiao Qiao. Go find Shirley. Zishang knew that Yunjioga was thinking about that guy. "Hey, I'll go over there. Call me if you need anything." Seeing that Xiao Chao was enjoying killing worms, Yunjioga left with peace of mind. "Yin Shirley, where are you?" Yunjioga called out as he walked. "I'm here." Yin Shirley's weak voice came from a corner. Yunjioga walked over and saw that Yin Shirley was tightly bound by countless white threads. He looked like a white cocoon. "Are you okay?" Yunjioga wanted to use his evil knife to cut open the cocoon. However, he didn't expect the knife to turn into scrap metal the moment it touched the white on the cocoon. This devouring power was too terrifying. "These threads have devouring power. Don't worry about me. Leave quickly." Yin Shirley's voice was extremely weak. It looked like he couldn't hold on much longer. Yunjioga thought about it and slowly used his divine power to condense a small golden knife. He stabbed it into the white cocoon and finally peeled it open. Yin Shirley's black face was revealed. "You're not afraid of this devouring power?" Yin Shirley was shocked. "This devouring power is nothing special. As long as you're stronger than it, you can devour it. What's on your body?" Yunjioga looked at Yin Shirley's black body and didn't dare to help him up. Chapter 468. This is corpse poison. If it wasn't for them, I'm afraid I would have died. Yin Shirley laughed bitterly. Although he was originally a living dead, the devouring power could steal the spiritual power of the heart of heaven and earth in his body. If it wasn't for his quick wit to use corpse poison to isolate it, he would have turned back into a Yin corpse with no consciousness. Corpse poison can isolate the devouring power. Yunjioga secretly remembered this and helped Yin Shirley out of the cocoon. He asked, "Oh yes, what happened when you went to the Five Venoms sect? How did Chun Sanyong become a stone statue?" "When Chun Sanyong and I went to visit the Five Venoms sect, the situation inside was very normal. The sect master also looked like a normal person." Yin Shirley was interrupted by Yunjioga. "What did you say?" "The Five Venoms sect master looked like a normal person." "Listen to me first. There are other things after that." Yin Shirley was helpless. "Oh, continue." Yunjioga waved his hand. "In the beginning, the Five Venoms sect was very normal. Later, I discovered that it was an illusion created by the maze array. I was about to escape with Chun Sanyong when the Five Venoms sect master turned into a stone statue and attacked us. Chun Sanyong was petrified. After I escaped, I wanted to heal my injuries in the Yin Chi Valley. I didn't expect there to be a kind of gray silk that could devour vitality. When I discovered it, I was already surrounded. If you hadn't come to save me, I wouldn't have lasted much longer." Yin Shirley still had some lingering fear. The corpse poison could only be isolated temporarily. If Yunjioga had come a step later, it was hard to say if he would have survived. "Oh yes, where are Chosen and the rest?" Yin Shirley looked around and only saw Zishang and an unfamiliar fat boy. They were captured by the people of Goddess Mountain. Yunjioga told him about the temple on Goddess Mountain. "We suspect that there is a nascent soul cultivator in that temple." Nascent soul cultivator? Could it be that he created all these things? The power of the curse and the devouring power complement each other and are extremely fierce. If they are allowed to spread, I'm afraid that all living things in the world will suffer. Who is so vicious? Although Yin Shirley was the demon sect master, he didn't dare to joke around with the lives of the world. "I don't know either. Let's leave this place first and think of a way to solve this problem." Yunjioga didn't know if the people of the world would suffer. She only knew that if Yin Shirley didn't find a place to recover, he would turn into a Yin corpse in minutes. "All right." Yin Shirley stood up with difficulty. Yunjioga was just about to order Zishang and Xiao Chao to retreat when he heard a muffled explosion. A passageway appeared behind the stone worms that they had killed. The gray threads that had tied up Yin Shirley immediately retreated along the passageway. Yunjioga looked at the passageway. It was pitch black and he couldn't see the end of it. Zishang pinched his fingers and conjured a little purple insect which flew towards the depths of the passageway. However, it was devoured not long after it flew out. This passageway is the source of the devouring power and the curse power. Zishang's expression was solemn. He wanted to explore it, but he was worried about Yunjioga. "How about?" Just as Yunjioga was about to say something, he saw Xiao Chao suddenly lie down on the ground and crawl towards the passage at an astonishing speed. "Get back here." Yunjioga subconsciously chased after him and Zishang hurriedly followed. Ian surely took a step forward and felt weak all over. In the end, he could only sit down near the passageway and adjust his breathing as he observed. "You stinking brat, why didn't you tell me to run? Are you looking for a beating?" Yunjioga huffed and puffed. It took him a lot of effort to hold Xiao Xiao down. He raised his hand and spanked Xiao Cao's but a few times. "Master, I was wrong. I accidentally ran in because I smelled a very nice smell inside." Xiao Xiao pretended to cry. He really didn't do it on purpose. "A very nice smell?" Yunjioga inexplicably felt that this sentence was somewhat familiar. "Yes, and it smells very delicious." Xiao Xiao nodded vigorously. "I remember Fei Fei said the same thing." Zishang caught up and happened to hear this. "So the passageway leads to the temple?" Yunjioga was surprised. "Very likely." Zishang nodded. "Then are we still going?" Yunjioga hesitated. The woman in the temple always made him feel very uneasy. "Let's go take a look. We'll retreat if the situation isn't right." Zishang knew very well that all the secrets were in the temple. They had to go take a look sooner or later. "Okay, let's go take a look." Yunjioga nodded. Since the passageway was so hidden, there might be a surprise. But Xiao Xiao shouldn't cause trouble. Ignoring Xiao Cao's resistance, she stuffed him into the demonic tripod and used her divine power to put up a small defensive barrier. She and Zishang continued forward. The passageway was filled with gray threads. Both of them looked restless but didn't dare to move due to Yunjioga's divine power. After half an hour, Yunjioga finally reached the end of the passageway. It was a round cave wall with a gray wooden cover. Under the cover was a path paved with white jade. Smoke curled up and celestial music floated in the air. In the distance, people were chanting piously and worshipping the goddess could be heard endlessly. Seemed to be the temple. "Are we going down now?" Yunjioga asked Zishang. Suddenly, a familiar voice came from afar. "Luotian, how about we go for a drink after your shift ends?" "Luotian? Wasn't that Junichen's voice?" Yunjioga's eyes widened. He hurried over to the wooden cover. He saw a handsome and tall youth standing on the white jade path. In front of him was a dark-skinned, handsome youth. Who else could it be but Luotian? Junichen had grown up quite a bit. When they'd parted, he'd still been a proud little boy. Now he'd become a handsome youth. But that wasn't the point. The point was why these two were here. And from their conversation, they seemed to be working at the temple. Yunjioga wanted to jump down and ask, "Shu, there's something wrong with them." Zishang pulled Yunjioga and sent him a telepathic message. "Look at their eyes." Yunjioga stretched his neck and saw that Junichen's eyes were blank. His voice didn't rise or fall either. In the past, Junichen's eyes were dark and gloomy like bottomless black holes. Now it felt like the black hole had been filled up. Luotian's gaze was strange too. He looked at Junichen without any emotion. It was as if he was looking at a rock. The two of them chatted like ordinary guards. They would drink 2 cups after their shift ends. It was as plain water. "Is he bewitched or sealed?" Yunjioga asked Zishang. "I'm not sure. There's no one around now. Why don't you let Fei Fei out to test him?" Zishang said softly. Junichen and Luotian both raised goo worms. If they were bewitched, their life goo would know best. Chapter 469. Yunjioga secretly released the gray moth and warned it before it could speak. "Listen to my orders later. Don't act rashly or your spirit pill will be deducted." "Why are you so fierce?" Fei Fei felt wronged. It didn't do anything wrong, it didn't even say anything when it was sealed and became so ugly. "I'm not being fierce. I'm just reminding you that this is the enemy's base camp. If you make any mistakes, it's very likely that your master will die." There was a mysterious and delicious thing in this temple that had a fatal attraction to these little cubs. She was really afraid that Fei Fei would suddenly betray her. This was a matter of life and death. She couldn't let this little thing act like a spoiled child. "Oh, I'll be obedient. I won't bring misfortune to master." Fei Fei immediately promised. "Good boy, do you still recognize the 2 people down there?" Yunjioga pointed at Junichen and Luotian who were still standing there chatting. Fei Fei stopped on the wooden shelf and looked at it seriously, then said, "I do, they're the masters of Little Life and Little Red." "Then can you find Little Life and Little Red?" Yunjioga asked nervously. "Let me see." Fei Fei flapped its wings and a faint fluorescent light floated around. Some landed on Junichen and Luotian who were walking out. while others floated in a circle towards the depths of the corridor. Little Life and Little Red aren't with their master, they're over there. Fei Fei raised its wings and pointed forward. Let's go take a look, Zishang said decisively. Yunjioga nodded. This was all too strange, she had to find out the truth as soon as possible. Zishang gently took down the gray wooden shelf and silently landed on the ground. After looking around, he raised his head and said to Yunjioga, "There's no one, come down." Yunjioga also jumped down and saw that the entire white jade corridor was empty, there was no one. "Go invisible, let's go." Zishang patted Yunjioga. Their demonic energy flashed at the same time and they disappeared without a trace. "There's still Fei Fei." Yunjioga's voice sounded in the empty corridor. "I'll suppress its seal first, it'll go invisible on its own." Zishang hooked his finger and the gray on Fei Fei's body instantly dissipated, revealing the true form of the black and white butterflies. Fei Fei hadn't seen her beautiful real body for a long time. She flew up and down in an intoxicated manner for a while. Then she flapped her wings and let the white color spread all over her body. Gradually her figure disappeared. "Quick, bring us to Lil Red and Lil Ming," Yunjioga urged. "This way." Fei Fei flapped its wings and moved forward. Yunjioga followed it through the corridor and found that the temple was very gorgeous. It was carved from white jade everywhere. There were not many decorations, but it was very grand and strangely familiar. Fei Fei took a turn at the fork in the corridor, flew to the left and finally arrived at a house. This room was made of mahogany and carved with countless beast patterns. There were no furnishings inside, only a huge wall in the middle with a 7-star human face goo worm the size of a faceplate. Its face was exquisite and adorable. Its eyes were tightly shut and its black wings were folded on both sides. Golden patterns of human faces covered its body, making it look mysterious and strange. Quietly coiled around it was a red flood dragon. It had the head of a deer and the body of a snake. It had 5 claws and was as beautiful as a red gem. The combination of the two goo beasts was very beautiful and spectacular. It could even be called a beautiful work of art. Lil Ming, Lil Red. Fei Fei flew up and down around the two goo beasts and finally stopped on Lil Ming's head and sadly said to Yunjioga, "Their souls are gone." "How can this be?" Yunjioga reached out and touched the two goo beasts. They were as cold as rocks. The last time they parted, the Lil Ming goo arrogantly said that it wanted to become the #1 goo worm, and Lil Red was still in the form of a spider. Now that they met again, the two goo worms had evolved a lot, but they had become ornaments. Their souls have been taken away. Junichen and Luo Tian should have lost a part of their souls, that's why they became like that. Zishang concluded after careful investigation. "Is it that guy from the Temple of Goddess again?" Yunjioga clenched his teeth, he wanted to drag her out and fight to the death. "Should be, that guy is not here today." Zishang scanned with his divine sense and found a piece of good news. "Then let's hurry and catch Luo Tian and Junichen for questioning." Yunjioga turned around and left the house, following Fei Fei to find Junichen and Luo Tian. The two lived in the outer room of the White Jade Temple. It looked like they had just finished eating and were tasting wine expressionlessly. Zishang appeared behind the two and with 2 knife hand strikes he knocked them down. "Ask Luo Tian first." Yunjioga picked Luo Tian up, patted him awake and let Zishang use his demon eye to interrogate him. Luo Tian had completely forgotten the past, he did not even remember his own name, he only said that he was Zhang Bao, and had entered the temple as a guard through the selection. His daily work was to patrol the temple, change shifts, eat a meal, drink a few cups of wine with friends and chat. Everything was ordinary, there was not a single clue. His memory soul is missing, his current memory was inserted by someone else. Zishang shook his head, there was nothing he could do about it. "Ask Junichen again." Yunjioga woke Junichen up, but his answer was exactly the same as Luo Tian's, except that his name was Li Wei. Li Wei. Yunjioga could not help but think of his loyal guard who was good at divination. Could it be that the two had some kind of relationship? "Do you still remember your vital goo?" Zishang changed the question to Junichen. Vital goo, vital goo." Junichen's numb expression finally showed a trace of change, he frowned as if he was trying hard to remember. "Its soul was taken away by someone, if we want to save it we must find the mastermind." Zishang increased the power of his demon eye. Little life, little life. Junichen's voice trembled, his teeth chattered and finally squeezed out 2 words. You. You did he do it? Yunjoga came back to his senses, but felt that it was impossible. That guy was cursed and was still lying in the coffin. Oh right, he also had a goo called Black Overlord, but he had not seen it. No. Junichen breathed heavily, his whole body was sweating profusely, then he fainted. Zishang's demon eye suddenly stopped moving, he pulled Yunjoga and ran out. That guy is back. It's good that he's back. Yunjoga's battle intent soared. As long as he defeated that mysterious guy, he would be able to save Luo Tian, Junichen and the rest. Good my ass, you don't even know if it's a man or a woman, human or ghost, how are you going to fight it? It was not that Zishang was a coward, but he instinctively felt that things were not so simple. He could not act rashly before he had a thorough investigation. Alright. Yunjoga activated his divine power ring and rushed forward with Zishang. She had to admit that Zishang's words made sense. Right now they did not even have a way to deal with the power of the curse and the power of devouring. Rashly fighting with the mastermind was not a wise move. It was better to go back and wake Yu and understand the ins and outs of the matter first. Chapter 470. Zishang and Yunjoga left the divine temple and ran quickly in the tunnel. The devouring gray threads were restless, like a group of demons dancing in a frenzy, impatiently pouncing on the 2 of them. Fei automatically flew back into the spirit beast bag, not even daring to poke his head out. Yunjoga had to increase the output of his godly power to safely rush out of the tunnel with Zishang. The gray threads surged out of the tunnel like a flood, instantly drowning the huge hole. Shirley has already left and is waiting for us outside. Zishang scanned with his divine sense and found that Shirley was already outside the mountain valley. He pulled Yunjoga into the air, stepping on a demonic cloud formed from demonic energy and flying out of the cave. Ao. Dummy immediately flew over. Yunjoga and Zishang landed on its meaty back and flew into the air to look down. They saw that the gray energy had already filled the entire mountain valley. Everywhere it passed, not a single blade of grass could be seen. Lady Yun, are you all right? Black Orchid rode on Deshan and greeted them from afar. Beside her was a black eagle that was carrying the pale and unconscious Shirley on its back. We're fine. Yunjoga directed Dummy to fly over and used his divine sense to check on Shirley. He heaved a sigh of relief when he found that he was only unconscious from exhaustion. This must be your corpse sex Gold Core Senior. I'm sorry, Deshan was startled just now. When we flew over we saw him lying near the mountain valley. Black Orchid felt slightly guilty. Deshan had run too fast just now and she had to coax him for a long time before he agreed to fly back. When he saw this Gold Core Senior, although Deshan agreed to save him, he would never let Black Orchid go to the mountain valley. Because Deshan had the instinct to avoid danger, she didn't dare to force her way in and could only wait nearby. That's right, this is our corpse sex Senior. Fortunately you didn't enter the mountain valley. Not only is that mountain valley covered by the power of the curse, but there's also a devouring power. It's very likely that it came from Goddess Mountain. Yunjoga didn't want to tell Black Orchid that there was a tunnel in the mountain valley that led to the Goddess Temple. How could this be? Black Orchid's face was pale. One curse had already wiped out their 5 poison sect. Now there was another devouring power. How could they survive? If you don't believe me you can send someone to check it out, Yunjoga said. Of course I trust Miss Yun. Black Orchid looked at the valley shrouded in gray mist. He didn't have the courage to investigate at all. Miss Black Orchid, Senior might have been cursed. Can I send him to your ice stone house for an examination? Yunjoga asked. Of course. After Wulon brought Yunjoga back to the encampment she went straight to the ice stone tower. Miss Wulon can wait outside. Yunjoga brought Shirley to the 3rd floor and asked Wulon to wait downstairs. I have experience sealing curses. Why don't you let me help you? Black Orchid did not want to go down. Her instincts told her that Yunjoga was hiding something from her. There's no need. I can handle things here. About the Inchi Valley you better hurry up and set things up. Don't let anyone get close to it. You have to drive away all the monsters nearby as well. Otherwise, the more vitality they devour, the faster it will spread. Also, the corpse poison has a certain isolation effect. There might be other poisons that have the same effect. You'll have to verify this yourself. Yunjioga said seriously. Alright then, I'll go. If you need me for anything here, you must let me know. Black Orchid thought about it. She still felt that the Enchi Valley was the most serious. If the devouring force was really allowed to spread out and devour the entire Grand Myriad Mountains, then they would lose their place to live and die. Don't worry. We're allies now. If I don't tell you, who else can I tell? Yunjioga patted his chest and guaranteed. Black Orchid left reluctantly, leaving Wu Ya and a group of believers to stand guard outside the tower. Why are you so wary of him? Ian Shirley, who had been unconscious all this time, opened his eyes and sat up. We can't let go of our guard. Furthermore, this Black Orchid has many things that she hasn't told us. Of course, we can't show all our trump cards. Yunjioga had already noticed that Ian Shirley was pretending to be unconscious. You're right. Ian Shirley nodded in agreement. He then looked at Yi Yunji, who was standing guard beside Yi Yu's coffin. He rubbed his chin and asked, this Ian corpse looks a little familiar. Seems to be that Ian corpse called Su Junqing. You can even tell when she's in this state? Yunjioga was shocked. Yi Yunji's current appearance was something that even her own brother Yi Yu could not recognize. We don't look at Ian corpses based on their appearance. I've only seen her Ian spirit physique once in the Ian corpse sect. By the way, I've already known about Lu Tian'er's 9 Yu Dao body. Ian Shirley smiled. If it wasn't for the fact that the Lu sisters were close to Yunjioga, he would have taken them in as well. After all, the 9 Yu Dao body was very rare. Furthermore, he had a cultivation technique that could allow the twin sisters to dual cultivate. Sect Master is indeed wise. I'll have to trouble Sect Master to wait for me on the second floor. I'll come and find you after I'm done, Yunjioga said with a smile. You even have to guard against me? Ian Shirley was stunned. Of course. Yunjioga took it for granted. She was going to use her divine power to expel the curse from Yi Yu's body. She couldn't even tell Ian Shirley about this. All right. Yunjioga was the real boss. Ian Shirley didn't dare to disobey her orders. He obediently walked to the second floor. Zishang, help me set up a layer of array. Yunjioga was still a little worried. I've already done it. Zishang appeared. There was still some demonic power flowing in his hands. On the door behind him, circles of runes condensed into a string, firmly covering the entire third floor. Then let's start treating Yi Yu now. Yunjioga walked to the side of the coffin. She saw that the curse on Yi Yu's leg had moved up a little. Yi Yunji's cold Yin power could only freeze it. It couldn't remove it. It was already very difficult for it to maintain its current state. Then let's begin. Zishang's palm brushed past Yi Yu. A soft cloud lifted his body up and made him float in mid-air. Yi Yunji was a little restless. He wanted to stop him. We are saving your brother. If you want him to come back to life, then go and guard the door. No matter what happens, you must not be agitated. Yunjioga said to Yi Yunji word by word. Yunjioga was the person that Yi Yunji had entrusted her with her funeral matters. Hence she instinctively trusted her. Thus she silently went to the door and guarded it. Yunjioga then calmed her heart and focused. She opened her spiritual eye to observe Yi Yu's body condition. After confirming that the curse power was gathered below his thigh, she took out her thunderfire needle and pierced it into the acupoints at the base of his thigh. Chapter 471. The curse power on Yi Yu's leg sensed the god power of the lightning fire needle and immediately retreated. Yunjioga continued to inject god power to expel the curse power. The golden god power was like a shark entering a fish pond, viciously expelling the curse power. The gray curse power dripped out drop by drop and was caught by Zishang using a large jade bottle. After the time it took for a joss stick to burn, the last drop of curse power was expelled from Yi Yu's leg. Zishang quickly sealed the jade bottle and sent Yi Yu back into the coffin. Phew, I'm exhausted. Yunjioga wiped her sweat. Although she had only expelled a small portion of the curse power, it had consumed a lot of her god power. Rest for a while. Zishang helped Yunjioga wipe her sweat and helped her to sit down. Help me see how Yi Yu is. Is he awake? Yunjioga also felt a little tired, especially the pain in her stomach. He has been sealed for too long. He won't wake up so soon. Zishang only needed one look to know Yi Yu's current state. Then feed him a few spirit pills. Yunjioga took out a jade bottle and poured out 2 spirit pills. Zishang flicked the 2 spirit pills into Yi Yu's mouth. Not long after, Yi Yu's eyelashes began to tremble and he slowly opened his eyes. You're finally awake. Why do I have to save you every time I see you? When Yun Jyoga's voice entered his ears, he thought he was dreaming. Wake up. Hurry up and get up. I have something to ask you. Yun Jyoga saw Yi Yu's confused face and waved her hand in front of him. Missy, it really is you. Yi Yu had a look of disbelief. Who else could it be? Yun Jyoga was about to roll her eyes. She didn't know if Yi Yu was lucky or if he had a lot of misfortune, but he always did the same thing every time they met. Why are you here? Yi Yu suddenly sat up from the coffin. Don't worry about that. Just tell me what happened to Junie Chen and Luo Tian. Yun Jyoga saw that Yi Yu's lips were chapped and poured him a cup of spirit water. They were captured. Hurry up and save them. Yi Yu didn't have time to drink the spirit water and said hurriedly. Who captured them? Yun Jyoga asked. I don't know. Yi Yu clutched his head in pain. It turned out that after he had parted ways with Yun Jyoga in the Thunder Nation, he had come to the 100,000 Mountains alone to look for Junie Chen and Luo Tian. He discovered that both of their cultivations had greatly improved, and their natal gu had also completed several evolutions. In particular, Luo Tian's Xiaohong had advanced to become a gu king. Junie Chen told him that they had discovered a mystical cave. On the surface, it looked like an ominous place with densine energy, but deep in the valley, there was a cave with abundant spiritual energy. Cultivating there would yield twice the results with half the effort, and it had an excellent promotion effect on the gu worms. Yi Yu followed them to cultivate in the cave, and sure enough, his cultivation improved tremendously. Soon he advanced to the middle stage of foundation establishment. Even Black Overlord advanced several times. After that, the 5 Venom sect's leader suddenly built a divine temple on Goddess Mountain. The spiritual energy in the cave started to feel strange, so we discussed leaving. Because Jun Yichen and Luo Tian's natal gu were in seclusion, they would only come out after a day, so they asked me to find a place to stay. I went out for a stroll and found a new cave. When I returned to the valley, I discovered that Jun Yichen and Luo Tian were missing. I searched the entire valley but couldn't find any trace of them, so I wanted to go to the 5 Venom sect to investigate. I didn't expect to see the Black Orchid sisters being attacked by a group of stone statues. I saved them, but I was hit. Yi Yu drank a mouthful of spirit water after he finished speaking, then let out a long sigh. At that time he thought he was dead for sure. Then did you go to Goddess Mountain to look for them? Yun Jyoga asked again. I originally planned to go to the 5 Venom sect to check for information before going to Goddess Mountain. But after I was hit by the curse, I couldn't go. Yi Yu shook his head. Think about it carefully. Did you miss any clues? Otherwise, Junie Chen wouldn't have asked them to look for Yi Yu. Yi Yu thought about it carefully, then shook his head. That day when I returned to the valley, I searched inside and out, but I couldn't find any clues. Where's your gu worm? Zishang suddenly asked. You said Black Overlord, it's here. Yi Yu took out a petrified cocoon from his pocket and said sorrowfully, after I was hit by the curse, Black Overlord wanted to help me detoxify the poison, but he turned into stone himself. Let me see. Yun Jyoga took the stone cocoon, and after sensing it with her heart, she discovered that there were still signs of life inside. Black Overlord can still be saved. Really? Yi Yu's eyes lit up and he immediately begged, Missy, please save Black Overlord. Even if you don't say it, I would still save him. Yun Jyoga had a feeling that the reason Junie Chen asked them to look for Yi Yu was very likely related to Black Overlord. She calmed her mind and once again injected her god power into the stone cocoon. The golden god power dyed the thumb-sized stone cocoon. The cocoon slowly melted, revealing a round, black figure. Black Overlord. Yi Yu shouted in surprise. The black figure moved and a large bull head flipped out. It was a half-evolved Black Overlord. Master, are you all right? Black Overlord excitedly wanted to fly back to his master's side, but was grabbed by Yun Jyoga. Don't be anxious, Black Overlord, I have something to ask you. Big sister, it's you. Black Overlord looked at Yun Jyoga innocently. That's right, it's me. Let me ask you, on the day Junie Chen and Luo Tian disappeared, did you see anything? Yun Jyoga stuffed a cherry pill into Black Overlord's mouth. After Black Overlord swallowed it, he immediately became spirited and started to recall in detail. That day Master went out to look for a new cave abode and I was accompanying Little Life and Little Red to cultivate, when a woman suddenly appeared in the cave abode. She praised Little Life and Little Red's good looks, and said that she wanted to bring them back to decorate. Junie Chen and Lord Luo Tian refused and started to fight with that woman, but that woman was very powerful and beat the two of them to the ground with one hand. That woman took Little Life and Little Red and after that she planned to kill their master. But I don't know what happened, but that woman suddenly said that Little Life and Little Red's master had a familiar smell and took them away. Why didn't you tell me at that time? Yi Yu was anxious. You didn't ask me. What's more, that woman is so powerful, master, you would only be sending yourself to death if you went looking for her. Black Overlord felt very wronged who asked his master to be so weak. Black Overlord, do you still remember that woman's name and what she looks like? Yun Jioga had a premonition that this woman was the nascent soul cultivator in the Divine Temple. Chapter 472. I don't know what she's called, I only know that she's very beautiful and smells good. Just smelling her makes me want to go with her. If it wasn't for her cruel methods of taking back his life and Little Red, the Black Tyrant would have abandoned Yi Yu to go with her. A very beautiful and smelling woman? Yun Jioga thought of the woman in the goddess's temple. Her silhouette was indeed a beautiful woman. But so what if he knew that nascent soul cultivator was a woman? He still couldn't find a way to deal with her. Black Orchid once said that the temple was built by her father after he received instructions from God. She should have some information about this woman. Zishang had already vaguely guessed what was going on, but he needed further confirmation. What if Wulan doesn't want to say it? Can your demon eye deal with her? Wulan was not only a golden core cultivator, she was also a very dark person. This kind of person was very hard to control with the demon eye. This sovereign doesn't only have the demon eye. Zishang's eyes were as cold as ink. If Wulan didn't want to cooperate, he didn't mind using some extreme methods. All right. Yun Jioga nodded her head. There was no time to slowly get close to Wulan in this situation. Wait, you wouldn't want to kill the Wulan sisters, right? You asked. That depends on the situation. They wouldn't kill them, but it was hard to say what other methods they would use. Young miss, the Wulan sisters aren't bad people, how about I go talk to them? Yi thought that no matter what, he was the Wulan sisters' savior. They should give him face. Yun Jioga looked over Yi Yu and shook her head. I'm not trying to hurt you, but if you knew what they did, you wouldn't be saying this. What did they do? Yi Yu was inexplicably nervous. They treated your corpses like little soldiers, not showing any respect at all. Moreover, they used your blood as a ritual. If I came a few days later, perhaps you would have lost a few parts of your body. Yun Jioga threatened Yi Yu with half-truth and half-lies. She didn't want Yi Yu to hold her back while she was dealing with Wulan. They were actually this vicious. Yi Yu felt deeply hurt. He had used his life to save them, but they had become his test subjects. This feeling was not good at all. You just don't have a good eye for women. You should grow up a bit more. Yun Jioga patted Yi Yu's shoulder in sympathy. Eldest miss, you've misunderstood. I have no such intentions towards them. Yi Yu was so anxious that his face had turned green. He had only saved the Black Orchid sisters because he wanted to get some information. He had no other intentions. I'm just kidding. Even if the Black Orchid sisters are so ferocious, they're not your cup of tea. Alright, you stay here and pretend to be unconscious. Don't let them see through you. Also, help me take care of the one on the second floor. Shirley was so weak that he could even kill a child. Yun Jioga was worried that he would be left alone in the ice stone building. Who's that on the second floor? You asked. Corp's sect leader Shirley has been struck by the devouring power and is now extremely weak. We need someone to protect him, Yun Jioga said in a low voice. Don't worry, I'll keep an eye on him. Yi Yu nodded. I'll leave it to you. After Yun Jioga said that, he jumped out of the window on the third floor and quietly arrived at the bamboo building in the middle of the valley. At this time, Black Orchid had just finished arranging the task of isolating the valley and was resting. When she saw Yun Jioga come in, she was instantly shocked. Why is Miss Yun here? Why didn't that damned girl Wu Ye send someone to inform her? I've collected some curse power in the valley earlier. I've specially brought it here for you to see. I hope it'll be of help to you. Yun Jioga took out the jade bottle that contained Yi Yu's curse power. Black Orchid retreated as if she had seen a ghost. It was as if Yoonjoga was holding poison. Don't be nervous. This bottle is specially made by our Corpse sect. It won't let the curse power escape. This bottle was a Chi bottle that had been modified by Zishang. It was perfect for sealing the curse power. I'm sorry. I was really scared out of my wits by this strange power. Black Orchid let out a sigh of relief and smiled embarrassedly. Miss Black Orchid, it's a good thing to be more vigilant. Yoonjoga put the jade bottle on the table. Black Orchid carefully opened the jade bottle and found that it indeed contained curse power. She immediately said with joy, Miss Yoon, since you can make a bottle like this, you must have a way to deal with the curse power. That's right. I do have a way. But whether or not I'll help you depends on your sincerity. Yoonjoga said lightly. Miss Yoon, if you need anything, please let me know. As long as I, Black Orchid, can do it, I won't refuse. Black Orchid said without hesitation. I just want to know what your father received instructions from God. Please tell me in detail. Yoonjoga emphasized. This matter is very important. It concerns the survival of your 100,000 mountains. Miss Yoon, I've only heard my father mention it once. I don't know the specifics. Black Orchid shook her head. Miss Black Orchid, I won't hide it from you. Actually, I've already gone to the Divine Temple on Goddess Mountain. There's a woman whose cultivation is comparable to nascent soul stage. This curse power and devouring power are both caused by her. I want to help you deal with her, but your attitude makes me feel that it's not worth the risk. Yoonjoga said as he observed Black Orchid's expression. Seeing that she was slightly moved but still hesitant, he stood and said, Since I can make a bottle that restrains the curse power, I naturally have a way to leave the 100,000 mountains safely. Since you don't have sincerity, then I'll take my leave. Miss Yoon, wait. Black Orchid hurriedly stopped Yoonjoga. This was her only hope. She definitely couldn't let her go. Miss Black Orchid, is there anything else? Yoonjoga raised his brows and asked. Miss Yoon, now that things have come to this, I won't hide it from you. Actually, there's no God's will. It was a woman with profound cultivation who forced my father to help her build a divine temple. This woman is vicious and cruel. Not only did she steal the treasures that our Five Venoms Order had accumulated over the centuries, she also purposely made things difficult for my father and told him to find someone. When Black Orchid spoke of this woman, she gritted her teeth. Her expression was savage and filled with hatred. Who does she want you to find? Yoonjoga asked. She wants us to find a woman who is noble and mysterious, beautiful and pure. She even said that this woman is the most perfect person in the world. Be it man or woman, old or young, flying insects or beasts, monsters or demons, as long as they see her, they will fall in love with her. Black Orchid's expression was one of grief and indignation as she said, Miss Yoon, do you think there's a woman like this in the world? Even a god is nothing more than this. Such a miraculous woman, I'd like to meet her as well. Yoonjoga shook his head. He also felt that this woman was purposely making things difficult for the Five Venoms Order's master. Because my father failed to help her complete her mission, she turned all of us from the Five Venoms Order into stone statues in a fit of rage. Black Orchid's eyes reddened and she couldn't hold back her tears. Miss Yoon, that woman is a madwoman. Please help me destroy her and save our Five Venoms Order. Chapter 473. Then have you seen her? What does she look like? What artifact does she use? What are her characteristics? Yoonjoga asked quickly. I have never seen her. Father used his last consciousness to tell me these things. Black Orchid shook her head and sighed. If she had seen her, she would have fought her already. Yoonjoga frowned and secretly sent a message to Zishang. After talking for so long, there is no clue at all. Who says there isn't? I already know who that woman in the temple is looking for, Zishang replied. Who? Yoonjoga asked in surprise. Are you really stupid or just pretending? You are the person she is looking for. Zishang looked Yoonjoga up and down. Are you joking? Yoonjoga did not feel that she had anything to do with nobility, mystery, beauty, or holiness. She did not have the charm that made men, women, children, insects, beasts, or ghosts fall in love with her. Not the present you, the past you. Yoonjoga was a god in his previous life on the Azure Waves continent. Okay, why is she looking for the past me? Yoonjoga had a bad feeling. Don't let it be another ill-fated relationship. If I am not wrong, that woman should be the princess of the spirit race, Your former maid Yu Ling heir, Zishang said gravely. Ling heir. The face of a beautiful, kind, calm, gentle and considerate woman immediately appeared in Yunjioga's mind. In terms of who was the most loyal to her in the Divine Palace, Yu Ling heir would definitely be at the top. Even Wan Sha would be behind her. I remember that before I reincarnated, I sent her back to the spirit race to inherit the throne. Yunjioga left a letter for Yu Ling heir, asking her to leave early. Yes, she returned to the spirit race, but not long after she committed suicide. Wan Sha had told him this in private. Impossible. Yunjioga did not believe it. Even if Yu Ling heir missed her, she should have followed her reincarnation like Wan Sha did. How could she commit suicide? Why would I lie to you? Wan Sha once went to the spirit race to investigate but did not find anything. Zishang's expression was heavy. No wonder the devouring power looked so familiar. It is the resentment left behind by Ling Er's suicide. Yunjioga had to accept the truth. The spirit race was a peace-loving race. Although their combat strength was not high, no one dared to offend them. This was because the will they left behind after they died was extremely powerful. Their curses and devouring abilities were even more terrifying. Given the current situation, we cannot use force. We can only use our wits. We must find a way to eliminate her resentment, Zishang said solemnly. Right now Yu Ling Er was only left with a spiritual body. She was undying and indestructible. Even if Yunjioga hardened his heart and used the god fire to kill her, it would be useless. The remaining resentment could not be dispelled. If it was the Yunjioga of the past, he could use his divine power to dispel it, but now it was impossible. I don't even know what her resentment is. How can I get rid of it? In Yunjioga's memory, Yu Ling Er had a stubborn personality. Once she decided on something, she would not change her mind. Although she would unconditionally obey any order he gave, she would not change her mind. It was difficult to eliminate her resentment. I'm guessing that her resentment is just being with you. There is nothing else. Zishang sighed inside. Back then, all the men and women who surrounded the goddess fought desperately to get Yunjioga's attention. Even he was no exception. She has become an earthbound spirit. She cannot leave Goddess Mountain. Yunjioga sighed. She actually liked Yu Ling. She could keep her by her side forever. But her resentment had spread through 100,000 mountains. She could not leave. You have to figure this out yourself. I cannot help you. Zishang could help Yunjioga fight, but he could not help her resolve other women's thoughts. You want me to go see her alone? Yunjioga was panicking. The memories from her past life were just memories. In this life she was still unfamiliar with Yu Ling. She was not confident she could deal with her. If she sees me with you, I'm afraid she'll turn evil in an instant. Zishang grimaced. Sister Ling looked weak, but she was actually very jealous. Seeing him would only make things worse. Okay, I'll go find her and ask her why she committed suicide. Yunjioga gritted her teeth. She did not believe that Yu Ling, who was soft on the outside but hard on the inside, would commit suicide for no reason and leave behind so much resentment. No, you cannot ask her this question. Zishang denied. Why? If he did not find out the cause of her death, how could he get rid of her obsession? Yu Ling's curse has not spread. That means she still has some consciousness. What if you trigger her painful memories and make her go crazy? Zishang had seen the spirit race's resentment go crazy. 100,000 mountains could be destroyed instantly. Okay, I'll find her first. Then we'll act according to the situation. Yunjioga sighed. The sins of her past life had to be resolved even if she cried. Before that, make 5 poison sects spit out what they took. Zishang's gaze was cold. Yu Ling had a lot of flaws, but she would never bully the weak. She asked 5 poison sect for help because it was an equal exchange. She was not as overbearing and vicious as Black Lawn said. Don't worry, I promise I'll make them spit it out with interest. If 5 poison sect had not been so greedy, they would not have angered Ling. They had to pay for all of this. Miss Yun, what's wrong? Black Lawn saw that Yunjioga's spirit was too weak and could not help but wave a hand in front of her. Yunjioga came back and looked coldly at Black Lawn. Miss Yun, why are you looking at me like that? Black Lawn's scalp felt numb under Yunjioga's gaze. Black Lawn, oh Black Lawn, you still want to hide things from me? Did 5 poison sects fate not teach you a lesson? Yoga laughed mockingly. I do not understand Miss Yun's words. Blackland's eyes flashed and her heart jumped. Had she discovered something? If you hand over the thing you still have a chance to live. Otherwise. Yoga thought of the black eagles in Eagle Park and decided to give Black Lawn another chance. Miss Yun, have you misunderstood something? Father only left behind some remnant thoughts before he died. He did not leave anything else. Black Lawn still wanted to argue, but Yoga did not want to listen anymore. I'll give you one night to think about it. Do you want to die with the treasure or do you want to help you and your believers find a way to live? Choose. Yoga finished speaking and went straight back to the ice building. She saw Shirley sitting cross-legged in meditation on the 3rd floor. His face was still very pale. Yi was waiting by the side. When he saw Yoga return, he immediately asked, "How is it? Are the Black Lawn sisters dead?" Chapter 474. Hearing Yi's question, Yoga couldn't help but laugh. Do you want them to die or not? The Miao people in this valley still need them to survive. If possible, let them live. Yi mumbled. He had no romantic feelings for the Wulon sisters. He just felt that it wasn't easy for the two of them to support a sect. Don't worry, the 2 sisters are fine. I've already asked about what happened on Goddess Mountain. The nascent soul cultivator in the temple only erupted in resentment because 5 Venom sect cheated her of something. As long as Wulon returns the item to her, everything will be fine, Yoga said concisely. That's simple. Yi was stunned. That's simple. Yoga nodded. As for what happened between her and Yuling, there was no need to tell them. What did 5 poison sect cheat them of? Shirley, who was meditating at the side, couldn't help but interrupt. Probably a tear. Yoga said with complicated feelings. What tear is so powerful? Yi found it unbelievable. No matter what, the 5 poison sect was the most powerful sect in the 100,000 mountains. How could it be possible for such an unreliable thing to attract unexpected disaster? There are many treasures related to tears. I heard that the tears of mermaids can become pearls, the tears of the fire race can become flint, but the most precious is the blood tears of the spirit bead. Legend has it that the blood tears of the spirit race are formed from the purest spiritual power in the world. After a cultivator worships them, they have a chance to comprehend the laws of heaven and earth. They are extremely precious treasures. Are you talking about this? Shirley looked suspiciously at Yoga. Sect leader is indeed knowledgeable. Yes, this is what I'm talking about. Yoga's expression was melancholic. She remembered that Linga once told her that if one day she shed tears of blood, it would be for her. Now that her physical body had disappeared, her soul storage bag couldn't follow her. This was the only treasure she had left. But she couldn't give this to 5 poison sect's leader. At most she would let him worship it for a while. 5 poison sect's leader probably wanted to steal the treasure but ended up being cursed instead. No wonder this kind of treasure can drive people crazy. I'm afraid Wulon won't take it out easily. Shirley put himself in her shoes. If he was in her shoes he wouldn't be willing either. If you can't bear to, then just wait for death. Yoga was only giving her time to think about it because Black Orchid had given her a dummy. If she continued to feign ignorance and did not take the initiative to take it out, then she could not blame them for directly snatching it from her. At that time she could forget about breaking the curse of the 5 poison cult. The most difficult thing in the human world is to make a choice. Shirley's words carried a hint of schadenfreude. Don't be in a hurry to sigh. How are you recovering now? If Wulon becomes desperate and takes you as a hostage, I won't have time for you. No matter what choice Wulon made the next day, Yoga had to go to Goddess Mountain to find Yulinger. The safety of Shirley and Yi was a problem. Don't worry about me, young Mississippi. I'll just find a random place to hide. I'm sure no one will be able to find me. Although Yi was only at the Foundation Establishment middle stage, he had mastered quite a number of secret techniques after cultivating with Junichen and the others for so long. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to rescue the Wulon sisters from the 5 Venoms cult. You don't have to worry about me. Shirley secretly transmitted his voice to Yoga. It's just that my heart of heaven and earth is weak. My physical body is fine. If worst comes to worst, I'll seal my spirit heart and return to being a corpse to follow you. Then seal your spirit heart. I'll just put you in the corpse refining bag. Yun Jioga felt that this was a good idea. Alright, but you have to send this brat away first. Ian Shirley's identity as a walking corpse was his biggest secret. He definitely could not reveal it. Alright. Yun Jioga called Yi Yu to the side and said, "You can't stay here anymore. Go out and find a place to stay first." Yi Yu strangely felt that this excuse sounded very familiar. Go. That's right, Yun Jioga was using Luo Tian and Junie Chen as an excuse. He didn't care at all how much psychological trauma it would bring to Yi Yu. I'll go Dao. Even though Yi Yu knew this was a trap, he could only jump in. He took Yi Yunji and sneaked away from the 3rd floor, disappearing into the shadows. Alright, he's gone. Hurry up and come in, Yun Jioga said to Ian Shirley. Ian Shirley closed his eyes. His chest, which had been rising and falling slightly, instantly stopped beating. The blood drained from his face and he instantly turned into a corpse. Yun Jioga used the corpse refining bag to keep Ian Shirley, then sat cross-legged on the ground to regulate his breathing. I'm going out for a walk. Zishang suddenly stood up and said. Go, don't go too far. Yun Jioga didn't even lift his eyelids. He already had a rough idea of where Zishang was going. Zishang's figure flashed and he disappeared without a trace. In the room in the middle of the valley, Wu Lan stared at the blood teardrop enshrined on it in a daze. After the 5 poison sect was contaminated by the curse, she risked her life to bring this treasure out. In just a short 3 months, she had advanced from the late stages of the Foundation Establishment stage to the Golden Core stage. She believed that as long as she had this treasure, entering the nascent soul stage would not be a problem. Asking her to hand it over was worse than death. But if she didn't hand it over, forget about Yun Jioga, the woman in the temple would not let her go. The reason why she could escape until now was because she had used her father's cover in the 5 poison sect. Even though she knew she could not stay, Wu Lan was still unwilling. Her eyes flashed with ruthlessness. Finally, she walked out of the room and called Wu Ya over. Pass down my orders. All believers surround the ice stone building. Sister, what are you doing? Wu Ya asked. Yun Jioga and the Golden Core from Een Corp's sect have a way to deal with the curse and the devouring power. We have to make her hand it over. Wu Lan instantly made up her mind. As long as she got the way to deal with the curse and the devouring power, even without Yun Jioga's help, she could still destroy the woman in the temple. Okay, I'll go immediately. Wu Ya nodded strongly. She immediately gathered all the believers with cultivation to surround the ice stone building. Yun Jioga stood on the 3rd floor of the ice stone building, watching coldly as Wu Ya brainwashed the believers. Believers, as long as we take down that woman, we can get the way to break the curse. The normal believers were excited as if they saw the light at the end of the tunnel. But they did not know that Wu Ya was just sending them to their deaths. But the most cunning one was still Wu Lan. She had been hiding in the back, probably thinking that if Wu Ya failed, she would come out to smooth things over. It was indeed a good plan. How about it, do you want to kill them all? Zishang silently appeared beside Yun Jioga. He was in a bad mood and really wanted to kill some ants for fun. Chapter 475. They're just ignorant people. What's the point of killing them? Since Wu Lan has made her choice, we don't have to waste time here. Let's go. Yun Jioga shook her head. Without looking at Wu Ya again, she turned and left the building with Zishang. By the time Wu Ya brought people to kill them, it was already too late. Yun Jioga walked out of the valley and summoned Dummy. To Goddess Mountain. Ayo. Dummy responded, then dragged the 2 of them towards Goddess Mountain. Yun Jioga sat cross-legged on Dummy's back and turned to Zishang. Did you get it? What thing? Zishang raised an eyebrow. Don't play dumb. Didn't you go out to get Ling Er's blood tears? Yun Jioga knew what Zishang wanted to do. Humph, your sister Ling Er shed blood tears for you. Keep them. Zishang took out a jade box unwillingly. He hated everyone who tried to steal Yun Jioga from him, even women. Look at how jealous you are. I only see her as a sister. Yun Jioga wasn't immoral in her previous life, but she'd never done anything to you, Ling. You make it sound nice. Zishang didn't want to appear so petty. But when he thought of how Yun Jioga and Ling Er were inseparable, he felt jealous. I can't be bothered with you. Yun Jioga rolled her eyes at Zishang and opened the jade box. Inside there was a crystal clear, incomparably beautiful tear of blood. It gave off a gentle glow in the dark room. Yoga reached out to touch the blood tear. Pure spiritual power entered her body through her fingers. It was indescribably comfortable. But so long as one calmed down and looked carefully, one would discover that it contained 1,000 words of speechlessness and boundless deep love, and it was simply unbearable. Yoga felt her scalp go numb. She was about to pull her hand back when the blood tear stabbed into her palm and disappeared. What happened? Yoga opened her palm. Her skin was as white as jade. There wasn't even a hole. The blood and tears she shed for you will naturally return to you. Now that she has discovered your location, she will probably come to get you. I will return to the mark first. Unless absolutely necessary, do not call out to me. After saying that, Zishang transformed into a beam of light and flew back into the mark on Yoga's arm. Hey, you can't just run away like that. Yoga pinched the seal, but Zishang did not react at all. Not far away, Goddess Mountain suddenly lit up with a gentle white light. A blanket woven from white threads extended down from the temple and came right in front of Yoga. Celestial music played, flower petals fluttered, the Miao people in the temple all knelt on the ground. They stood up and shouted, "Welcome Goddess Darren." Yoga smelled a familiar scent coming from the white carpet. It was Linger's unique fragrance. The spirit race grew up absorbing pure spiritual energy, so they naturally had a very special body fragrance. This was also the reason why Fei, Black Tyrant, and the others always wanted to run with her. Yoga was about to step onto the light carpet when Dummy, who was under her feet, suddenly opened its beak and madly spat out a series of fireballs at the light carpet. The beautiful light carpet suddenly became very fierce. It opened its mouth and swallowed all of Dummy's fireballs. Then it aggressively tried to swallow Dummy. Ow ow ow. Dummy was not afraid. Instead, it looked like it was going to die, and it looked like it was going to fight the white silk to the end. Yoga hurriedly swatted the white silk away. The ferocious white silk was very weak in front of Yoga. After it dispersed, it floated to the side with an aggrieved expression as if saying, "How could you treat me like this?" Ow ow ow. Dummy squinted its eyes and wanted to continue charging. Yoga hurriedly pressed down on its big head and shouted, "What are you doing, Dummy? Why are you going crazy? Enemies, kill them all, kill them all." Dummy's muddled brain sent a crazy message to Yoga. Originally, its brain was blocked by a golden gray ball of light. Now the ball of light was even more intense and its brain was about to explode. Calm down. Yoga pinched the thunderfire needle and stabbed it into its Bai Hui point, forcefully sealing its soul. Dummy's eyes rolled back and it fell straight down. Yoga hurriedly grabbed its huge body and stuffed it into the spirit beast bag, but it made Fei and the other spirit beasts unhappy. "So fat, it's a hindrance. Bear with it for now. I'll get a bigger one later." Yoga comforted Fei while thinking about Dummy going crazy. This gold core black eagle, which had not yet developed intelligence, had been full of mystery since it appeared. Previously, when Yoga communicated with it, she found that it only had the instinct to eat. This was the first time she saw it explode with such a clear thought. Could it be that the white silk had a grudge against it? "Master, what are you thinking about?" A gentle and sweet voice sounded in Yoga's ear. She looked up and saw standing on a cloud made of white silk, looking at her. She was still as beautiful and gentle as she remembered, heroic but not lacking in cuteness. It was just that before Linger was still human. Now Linger was just a soul. Her feet were floating and her feet did not touch the ground. Why did you pick me up again?" In the past, every time she came back from a trip, Linger would welcome her personally. "Master, I missed you." Linger seemed to be sighing and smiling. The white silk under her feet turned into a long carpet again, and she brought Yoga into the temple. Yoga was in the white jade corridor. She finally knew why she felt this temple was a bit familiar. Wasn't this the decoration she had in the temple? Although it was a bit crude, she could still see the prototype. "Originally, I wanted to help you build a new god palace. Unfortunately, there is nothing good in this remote place. Even this little bit of white jade took me a lot of effort." Linger felt very guilty. She could not give the honorable goddess the best thing she could. "It's okay. If I really let you build a temple, Elder Yu will cry," Yoga said very naturally. Elder Yu was one of the builders of the temple. His biggest wish in life was to continuously improve the beauty of the temple. Master, you must be joking. I don't dare to compare myself to elder you. Yuling giggled. Her eyes and eyebrows curved. The atmosphere was very warm. It was as if time had turned back. Yun Jioga really wanted to ask Yuling why she wanted to commit suicide, but he was afraid the question would provoke her to become evil, so he changed the topic. I took in a Jindan mount that did not have intelligence. When it saw your white silk, it was as if it saw someone who killed its father. Do you have a grudge against it? Are you talking about the black eagle that was so fat I couldn't see? Yuling lowered her head and thought carefully. She even asked her white and gray silk. In the end, she shook her head and said, Master, my white and cursed silk have only appeared in Goddess Mountain and 5 poison sect. They have not consumed any black eagle beasts. Chapter 476. Then why is it shaking? Yun Jioga believed that Yuling wouldn't lie to her. It seemed that dummy was the problem. Mistress, that mount is too ugly. I'll help you find a prettier one. How about a 7-colored peacock? Yuling's slender fingers swept through the air. A beautiful and elegant bird appeared in front of Yun Jioga. It's pretty, but it's not special. Yun Jioga shook her head. Dummy was a bit stupid, but it was already her bird. He had to protect it until the end. You're right. Mistress has good taste. Yuling worshipped Yun Jioga blindly. If Yun Jioga said flowers were smelly and farts were fragrant, she would nod seriously. Of course. Yun Jioga revealed a reserved and slightly arrogant smile. She was starting to find the feeling of being a goddess. Mistress, you've been tired outside all day. I've already prepared a medicinal bath for you. Do you want to go now? Every time Yun Jioga returned from outside, Yuling would prepare a medicinal bath to welcome her. The spirit clan was best at making medicinal baths that could cleanse one's body. It was also Yun Jioga's favorite. There's no hurry. Let me ask you something first. Previously, I had a few companions waiting outside. Did you see them? Yun Jioga briefly explained the symptoms of Chosin, Nangongli, and Bailey Moyun. Are you talking about these 3? Yuling crooked her finger and showed the images of Chosin, Nangongli, and Bailey Moyun. Yes, them. Yun Jioga nodded. The 3 of them brought tokens to enter the secret land of chaos and asked to see you. After checking, I let them in. Yuling nodded. Wait, you said they had tokens to enter the secret land of chaos. What do you mean? Things were developing differently from what she'd imagined. This god temple leads to a secret area called chaos. I am the gatekeeper. As long as you have a token to enter the secret area, you can enter. I remember that their token was a woman lying in a coffin. Yuling waved her finger and drew the scene of what had happened. Chosin, Nangongli, and Bailey Moyun were carrying a blood-red coffin. Inside lay Nangongyu. Damn. Yun Jioga cursed inwardly. He never thought that Nangongyu would be the token to enter the mystic realm. What was even more hateful was that Nangongli and Bailey Moyun might have already known about this matter. Yet they still deceived her together with Cho Senator. This was truly intolerable. Yun Jioga swore that if he met them in the mystic realm, he would beat them until their teeth fell out. Sir, I know you are here to enter Chaos' secret land, but I will not let you in, Yuling suddenly said. Why? Yun Jioga frowned. Because if you go in, you will die for sure. You have already reincarnated twice. If you reincarnate again, you will truly fall into the world of mortals and suffer the pain of reincarnation. Yuling spoke word by word. Ling, do you know something? Originally, Yun Jioga thought that Yuling had become a resentful spirit because she was too obsessed with him. Now it seemed that there was more to it than met the eye. That's right. The reason I became a spirit was to protect you here and stop you from dying. Yuling's words surprised Yun Jioga. Why are you so sure that I will die in Chaos' secret land? Who told you that? Yuling was not good at divination. Someone must have instigated her. Li Wei told me. Yuling's answer surprised Yun Jioga. Impossible. Li Wei immediately left with me when I reincarnated. Why would he go find you? You must have been tricked, Yun Jioga said without hesitation. Sir, it doesn't matter if you are tricked or not. You have already lost your divine power. You are no longer the omnipotent goddess you used to be. Yuling's expression was sad and her voice was pained. Sir, in your past life, You sacrificed yourself to save the world. In this life, just live your life well. Don't worry about those trivial things, okay? Ling, if the nest is overturned, there will be no eggs left intact. If this catastrophe really comes, I will not be able to escape death. Yun Jioga wanted to find a place to hide and live, but if the catastrophe really came, the entire Kanglan continent would be destroyed. She would be finished too. So don't worry. Even if Kanglan continent falls apart, the temple I built for you will be fine. Yu Ling waved her hand and the entire temple turned gray. It was built with curse power and devouring power like the strongest fortress. No matter how strong your temple is, what is the point of just the two of us? Plus, Yu Ling was no longer human. I knew you would say that, so I invited your friends to accompany you. Yu Ling smiled. Jun Yichen and Luo Tian appeared respectfully in front of Yun Jioga. Behind them was Yi Yu. This unlucky kid had been captured not long after he left Black Orchid Valley. He took their souls. What is the difference between them and puppets? Yun Jioga frowned. Master, you misunderstand me, Yu Ling said gently. I saw that their cultivation was too low and they were not worthy of being your friends. That is why I took their souls and nurtured them. Once I put them back, they will have gold core cultivation. Yun Jioga was speechless. Yu Ling was very good at nurturing souls. She could even nurture a nascent soul, let alone a gold core. Sir, the medicinal bath I prepared is getting cold. Hurry up and soak in it. Yu Ling took Yun Jioga's hand and walked through the hallway to the bath. The inside was also carved with white jade. The wide bath was divided into 2 layers like a big pot covering a small pot. The outermost layer was sprayed with spirit water. The middle layer was filled with milky white liquid. It was full of spirit energy and smelled good. Sir, you were poisoned by the 9-bone crusher, Yu Ling explained. Your meridians have been greatly damaged. This medicinal bath can repair your damaged meridians and purify your spirit root. Although it can't reach the phoenix body you had in your past life, it can raise your root to beyond the 1st rank. She came over to help Yun Jioga take off his clothes. No, I can do it myself. Yun Jioga had bathed with Yu Ling in his past life, but their relationship now was different. It would be strange if they were to be naked. Sir, you used to bathe with me. Yu Ling sighed. She looked sad. The devouring white silk and cursing gray silk also looked listless. You said that I have reincarnated twice. Everything is different. Yun Jioga hardened his heart. He did not want to give Yu Ling any hope. I know you like Zishang the most and I know he is always by your side. But it doesn't matter. As long as you are happy, that is fine. Yu Ling bowed to Yun Jioga. Then you can bathe yourself. I will guard the door. If you need anything, just tell me. Then she left. When the door closed, Yun Jioga immediately called for Zishang. Come out, come out. Chapter 477. Amidst Yun Jioga's urgent calls, Zishang finally appeared. He raised his hand and threw her into the pool. With a bang, water splashed everywhere. Yun Jioga emerged from the water and shouted angrily, "What are you doing? It's such a good bath. It would be a waste not to soak in it," Zishang said matter-of-factly. Why are you soaking in a stupid bath at a time like this? Yun Jioga thought Zishang was crazy. This bath is good for your body. Hurry up and take off your clothes. Zishang quickly stripped Yun Jioga naked. Yun Jioga felt a cold breeze on her chest. She quickly sat in the pool and only poked her head out. She asked Zishang, "You heard what Yu Ling said, right?" "Yes." Zishang put Yun Jioga's clothes on the edge of the pool. "How do you feel? Did Li Wei really encourage her to kill herself?" Yun Jioga had been reincarnated for too long. She couldn't be sure if those people were still loyal to her. "What did you tell Li Wei?" Zishang turned around and asked. "I told him to reincarnate with me immediately without delay," Yun Jioga said with certainty. "Then he won't do anything unnecessary. Li Wei has always been a stickler for rules. If you say one thing, he definitely won't do another." Zishang had been by Yun Jioga's side for the longest time and knew her divine guards like the back of his hand. So someone pretended to be Li Wei and went to find Yu Ling Who? Yun Jioga thought quickly but had no clues. You immediately reincarnated after mending the sky. The God Palace was in chaos. I don't know who it was, but that person must have hidden very well. Even Wan Sha couldn't find any clues. Zishang and Wansha had made many guesses, but they couldn't be sure who did it. Damn, if I find out who's behind this, I'll kill him. Yunjioge was angry. The gentle and considerate servant suddenly turned evil and attacked. Even a saint would go crazy. I'll think of a way to send this back for Wansha to investigate. But right now the most important thing is to find Li Wei in the realm of chaos. If that person pretended to be him, there must be a reason, Zishang said. You know Ling Er's personality. If she's determined to stop me, there's nothing I can do. Yunjioge sighed. Ling Er had always been stubborn. Originally, she only needed to serve for 10 years before she could leave to inherit the spirit race. But after she took office, she insisted on staying. She would rather be a little maidservant by her side and manage the daily chores of life than return to the spirit race to become the supreme empress. She had even chased away all of the elders who had come to persuade her. Now that she was a spirit and only had her will left and was even. Talk to her again. She listens to you the most. Zishang paused for a moment before continuing. If it really doesn't work, you can order her to commit suicide. Even if she listens to my orders and commits suicide, she won't do it willingly. At that time her resentment will still erupt. Yunjioge rolled his eyes at Zishang and kept coming up with bad ideas. Ling of Shang of with of Yun. Zishang said. He thought. She. Of. However, he only dared to say these words in his heart. He didn't dare let Yunjioge hear him, or else she would definitely reprimand him. No matter how many times Yunjioge reincarnated, she would always have a goddess complex. She pitted the world and hated killing the innocent. By the way, Chosun actually brought 2 Foundation establishment cultivators to the mystic realm alone. Do you think he's out of his mind? Yunjioge felt depressed at the mention of this. Chosun didn't have that idea before. It's possible Nangong Yu instigated it, Zishang said. I should have asked Nangong Li to hand over Nangong Yu's soul. He was too soft-hearted. Handing it over is useless. Yu Ling won't let you go. In the end, none of you will get in, Zishang said realistically. According to you, they were right to get rid of me? Yunjioge glared at Zishang. Did he know how to talk? No. If they knew Yu Ling would stop you, then Nangong Yu has a problem. Yunjioge and Yu Ling relationship was known only by the people of God Palace. How could a regular cultivator like Nangong Yu know? I think so too. Nangong Yu is the token to enter the hidden territory of chaos. What happened to her in the hidden territory? Yunjioge found that there were more and more mysteries in this hidden territory of chaos. The most important thing now is to find a way to enter the hidden territory. Otherwise, it would be pointless to say anything else. After going around in a circle, they still returned to this topic. Yunjioge couldn't help but sigh. Just then Yu Ling's voice came from outside. Master, are you done? Zishang immediately slipped back into Yunjioge's mark. He was determined not to meet Yu Ling. Wait. Yunjioge just realized that the white medicinal liquid in the bath had turned gray. She used the spiritual water on the outside to clean herself and put on the clothes Yu Ling prepared. The pure white robe looked like it was woven from clouds. It softly clung to her body. The long hem was like silk rippling in the water, swaying with Yunjioge's steps. She pushed open the door. The faint fragrance of flowers was refreshing, and heavenly music was pleasant to the ear. 2 rows of servants in blue dresses stood on either side. Yu Ling came forward with a smile and said, Sir, I have prepared your favorite heaven fragrance stew. Go and eat. When Yunjioge ate, she mentioned her mission and the world to Yu Ling. She even took out her god fire to show Yu Ling that she could protect her. When Yu Ling saw Yunjioge's pitiful amount of god power, she almost cried. She was even more determined to protect her. At night, Yunjioge firmly refused Yu Ling's suggestion to stay with her. She lay down on the cloud bed, exhausted. Teach, how stupid are you to show your god power to her? Zishang said unceremoniously. If you can do it, then do it. Yunjioge snapped. Zishang didn't say anything. He really couldn't do anything to Yu Ling. If the soft way doesn't work, then I'll do it the hard way. Yunjioge jumped up from the bed and decided to go into the hidden territory of chaos. She quietly opened the door and found there were only puppet guards in the hallway. She stealthily walked toward the god temple. The god temple was beautiful and spacious. There was only one statue in the main hall, and top-level spirit incense was placed under it. The statue was carved from white jade. It looked similar to Yoonjyoga, but the temperament was completely different. Yoonjyoga looked at the mysterious, beautiful, noble and merciful statue and confirmed that she was different from before. Before she was a god. Now she was a human, and a human with mediocre power. But no matter what, she still had to carry the responsibility on her shoulders. Yoonjyoga pulled herself together and started to search for the secret door. She finally found the mechanism under the statue. The secret door opened, revealing a dark passageway. Chapter 478. Yoonjyoga walked in without hesitation. He saw that the dark walkway was filled with black death air. It was a stark contrast to the beautiful temple. At the end of the walkway was the entrance to the secret place. A disgusting smell wafted into his nose. There was a mirror at the entrance of the secret place, and it reflected a horrible scene. There were thousands of miles of white bones. It was like hell on earth. This is not a secret place, it's a place of death. Yoonjyoga reached out to touch the mirror but found nothing. This is just a small part of the secret place. If you want to go in, you must find the real entrance, Zishang said from inside Yoonjyoga's mark. Where is the real entrance? Yoonjyoga opened his spirit eye and looked around, but there was nothing. Only Yuling knows the real entrance and only she can open it. He was powerless. I thought you could do anything. Yoonjyoga noticed that Zishang was very careful around Yuling. He didn't even dare show his face. That depends on the situation. Unless I kill myself and become a spirit body, then I can fight her. The curse and the devouring power were formed by resentment. After finding Yoonjyoga, he had no regrets. It would be difficult to kill himself. In the end, I still need her help. Yoonjyoga felt like this was an unsolvable problem. Not good she's here. Just as Zishang spoke, Yuling appeared in front of Yoonjyoga. At this time, the handsome and beautiful face was ashen like a corpse. Her red eyes stared at Yoonjyoga as she angrily and sorrowfully said, "My lord, I have already done this, why won't you listen to me? I have to go to this secret place." Yoonjyoga tried to reason with her. But Yuling didn't want to listen. "Mister, you have been bewitched. I will not watch you die." After Yuling said this, she used the gray silk to bring Yoonjyoga back to the room and lock him up. Yuling, what do you mean? Are you going to lock me up? Yoonjyoga couldn't believe the once gentle and beautiful Ling would treat him like this. "Mister, I am doing this for your own good. One day you will understand my difficulties." Yulinger's voice faded away, leaving behind only the gray silk around the room. Angrily, Yoonjyoga ignited his divine flame and aimed it at the grayish-white threads. Unfortunately, even after burning layer after layer, she couldn't even burn a hole until her divine power was exhausted. "It's useless. You're too weak right now." Zishang didn't want to hurt Yoonjyoga's feelings, but this was reality. "Faster, thief." Yoonjyoga's chest heaved violently, but he quickly calmed down. Losing his temper wouldn't solve the problem. He had to think of another way. "Zishang, what do you think about me tricking her into not going to the Arcana realm, then leaving this place and finding another passage to enter?" Yoonjyoga recalled what Bailey Moyun had said, that the Golden Core cultivators of the 5 great sects of the righteous path had formed teams and entered the mystic realm through another passage. "It's useless. He will never let you go." Zishang waved his hand and an image appeared before Yoonjyoga. The goddess mountain had already been covered by the densely packed threads, turning into an incomparably tall mountain. "Even if I take you and escape, she will chase you to the ends of the earth. Everywhere she goes, lives will be lost. I'm guessing that the person who encouraged Yuling to kill herself would love to see that happen." Although Zishang didn't know who that person was, he was sure that they didn't have good intentions. "Then what do I do? Am I going to be trapped here until I die?" Yoonjyoga was depressed. "There's nothing bad about being trapped here. Yuling is best at making medicinal baths to help people train their bodies and also to nurture their souls. If you cultivate here for 10 years, forget Yuanying, you'll be able to reach demigod." Zishang was giving Yoonjyoga hope. If demigod is so easy, then how come there's only one goddess in a few thousand years? Yoonjyoga said impatiently. "Since we can't get out now, why don't we take care of ourselves? That will be good for you." Zishang wasn't in a hurry to leave because of this. If Yu Ling was used well, it would be an opportunity for Yun Jioge. Okay then. Yun Jioge sighed. Solving Yu Ling's obsession required time. Now he had no other choice. The next day Yun Jioge took the initiative to ask Yu Ling to make a medicinal bath for her. Yu Ling was very excited. She felt that Yun Jioge had thought it through, so she immediately made one for her. Just like this she soaked for 3 days. Yun Jioge's meridians were unprecedentedly good. In an instant she entered gold core from the early stage of foundation establishment. It was even faster than wearing the wind and thunder wings. Yun Jioge was very uneasy. Making a powerful medicinal bath required a lot of resources. Yu Ling didn't have enough, so she could only plunder. She didn't know what was going on in the 100,000 mountains. This feeling made her very uneasy. Zishang, we can't go on like this. We have to find a way to leave. Otherwise, I'm afraid Ling will do something stupid. Yun Jioge looked for Zishang to discuss. Yu Ling only made a few medicinal baths. What's there to worry about? Zishang naturally knew that Yu Ling was plundering resources, but he didn't care. In any case, when the calamity arrived, the continent would be destroyed. It was better to give them to Yun Jioge to nourish. In the end, this was what Blue Wave's continent owed her. What do you mean? You also don't want me to go to Primal Chaos secret territory. The more Yun Jioge thought about it, the more she felt it was possible. Previously, Zishang had always wanted to seal her memory and make her a sweet and innocent girl. I don't. Zishang had an innocent expression. How could he admit that he was the same as Yu Ling? He wanted to find a safe place to hide Yun Jioge. He didn't want her to sacrifice herself for the common people. It would be strange if I believed you. Sure enough, relying on others was enough. Yun Jioge decided to save herself. The first thing she did was to find an ally. The maids and guards of this divine palace, including Yi Yu, Luo Tian and Juni Chen, were all controlled by Yu Ling. However, there was an exception, and that was Yi Yunji. Yi Yunji was Yi Yu's corpse. Because of her ugly appearance, Yu Ling didn't like her. So she was placed outside the divine palace. However, she wasn't forbidden from entering or leaving the divine palace. Yun Jioge was looking for an ally. Everyone thought that Yi Yunji's consciousness had already dissipated. However, Yun Jioge could use the world spirit heart to attach a part of her soul to see what was happening outside. Yun Jioge didn't even tell Zishang about this. When she was soaking in the medicinal bath, she used the power of the world spirit heart to secretly attach herself to Yi Yunji. Because Yi Yunji had the aura of the shrine, when Yun Jioge controlled her to leave, those white threads didn't have any reaction. At this moment, Goddess Mountain was already occupied by endless gray threads. It took Yun Jioge some time to leave. When she left Goddess Mountain and walked outside, she was stunned by everything in front of her. Chapter 479. Yun Jioge looked around in shock, only to see 10 miles of withered yellow land without a single blade of grass growing. The brown soil was exposed. It was like a completely different world from before. What had Yu Ling done? Yun Jioge felt very uneasy and decided to find someone to ask. He flew toward the Black Orchid Valley. The most eye-catching building of ice and stone in the valley had already been leveled to the ground. At the foot of the mountain, there was a huge bonfire made of peachwood branches. Above the bonfire were numerous Miao people whose bodies were half petrified. They piled up in layers, their eyes filled with despair and fear. Sister, I don't want to die, please don't burn me. At the top of the pile was Wu Ya. Her lower body was already petrified and her upper body was tied up with ropes. She kept begging Black Orchid to let her go. Sister, I'm sorry. The once high-spirited Black Orchid's eyes were now red and her face was green. She looked ragged and tired. She stood in front of the bonfire with a torch in her hand and said to Wu Ya in pain, "The curse has begun to spread. The ice stone can no longer suppress the curse. If I don't burn you to death, the curse will only get worse. Sister, please don't hate me. I have no choice." Black Orchid cried as she said this, then ruthlessly threw the torch towards the fire. Just as the torch was about to fall, a stone flew out of nowhere and extinguished the fire in an instant. Who is it? Wu Lan turned her head and saw a familiar and ugly corpse standing not far away. Big brother Yi Yu, he must have come back to save us, Wu Ye shouted while struggling. When she had brought people into the ice stone building and found that Yiyu had left with the Een corpses, she had guessed that he had removed the curse. After all, he was the only person that could stop the curse from spreading. Yiyu, have you come to save us? Black Orchid looked around in despair. She now deeply regretted not giving the blood tears to Yunjioga. Now that the treasure was gone, her sister and her followers could not be saved. If she was given another chance, she would not hesitate to give up the treasure. Yunjioga said nothing. She only gestured for Black Orchid to follow her. Black Orchid followed without hesitation. Yunjioga brought Wu Lan to a secluded and remote place before transmitting to her. I am Yunjioga. Miss Yun, how could you possess a Een corpse? Wu Yu was shocked. She remembered that Yunjioga was only at the foundation establishment stage. Forcefully possessing someone else would be very harmful to his soul. I don't have time to explain things to you. Tell me what happened to Goddess Mountain. How could so many of your cultivators be petrified? Yunjioga only had 2 hours. He had to return before Zishang and Yu Ling'er found out. The devouring power around Goddess Mountain suddenly erupted. Not only did it suck dry the spirit veins of the mountains and rivers nearby, it even snuck into our valley and devoured the cultivation of many cultivators. Black Orchid's mood was incredibly heavy. The Goddess Mountain's divine temple had been established for a long time, but it had always been extremely obedient. She didn't think that it would be so terrifying when it erupted, simply as terrifying as a plague. Is the situation serious? Yunjioga's heart tightened. I don't know what to say. Miss Yun, take a look for yourself. Black Orchid called Great Shun over. Yunjioga followed the Black Orchid and flew out of the valley towards the place where the normal Miao people gathered. Along the way, all kinds of wild beasts were running towards the depths of the forest as if they were escaping from some disaster. The small river, which used to be filled with gurgling sounds, had mostly dried up, revealing the grayish-yellow riverbed. The poor Miao people knelt by the riverside with looks of despair on their faces, praying for the river to flow again. Miss Yun were not the only cultivators in the 100,000 mountains. There are also many normal people. That woman in the divine temple devoured the spirit veins and stole resources. If this continues, the people will be plunged into misery and suffering, and corpses will be everywhere. I beg you to help me get rid of her. Black Orchid suddenly knelt down and bowed deeply to Yunjioga. Yunjioga released a gentle force to support her knees and said, if you really have the heart, then help these living beings. I'll think of a way to deal with the divine temple. With that, she jumped off Great Shun's back and flew back to the divine temple. After Yunjioga placed Yi Yunji in Yiyu's house, her soul returned to her body. Are you crazy? You actually split your soul to go out and play? If your soul is destroyed, you'll be an idiot for the rest of your life. Zishang looked at Yunjioga furiously. Seeing that Yunjioga wasn't moving in the water, he thought that something had happened to her. He didn't expect her to split her soul and go out. Yunjioga didn't say anything and only looked at him coldly. What's wrong? Zishang sensed that something was wrong. You know what Yu Ling'er did, right? The outside world was already in chaos, and she didn't believe that Zishang didn't know anything. What did Yu Ling'er do? Didn't she just make a medicinal bath for you? Zishang turned his head slightly and avoided Yunjioga's gaze. She used other people's lives to help me make a medicinal bath, and you say that's all? Yunjioga angrily slammed her palm on the water, and the dark red medicinal liquid splashed onto Zishang's handsome face. You didn't ask her to do it. Even if the Tao of Heaven blames her, it won't be on you. Zishang was expressionless. Cultivators fought against the heavens, and it didn't matter what method they used as long as it worked. Yunjioga knew that Zishang was a bit cold towards the people of the world, but she didn't expect him to be this cold. She angrily stood up from the water, put on her robe and walked out. Where are you going? Zishang pulled Yunjioga back. I'm going to find Yu Ling'er and ask her. Flames danced in Yunjioga's eyes, ready to shoot out at any moment. Once upon a time, the spirit race was loved for their kindness and generosity. Now Yu Ling'er was scarier than a demon. This wasn't someone she knew. She cares about you. If you go looking for her like this, won't you hurt her too much? Zishang didn't want Yunjioga and Yu Ling'er to fight. I don't know what happened to make you all so cold and cruel, but don't say that you're doing it for my good. I don't want you to disgust me. Yunjioga stared at Zishang and said word by word. Zishang's heart shook and he didn't dare stop her. He could only watch as Yun Jioge left the hall. When Yun Jioge found Yu Ling, she was making a spiritual liquid in the alchemy room. The walls of the alchemy room were filled with thick transparent tubes that were filled with the spiritual power of the mountains. This spiritual power was the foundation of all things. Only the spirit race who had mastered spiritual power could extract it. Mister, why are you here? Yu Ling put down the spirit bottle in her hand and looked at Yun Jioge with surprise. Congratulations, mister. Your cultivation has increased again. Yun Jioge realized that after soaking in the medicinal bath, he had reached the middle stage of the golden core stage. This kind of speed was shocking. Chapter 480. The legends say that the power of mountains is the best way to increase cultivation. It is true. Yu Ling looked at Yun Jioge with satisfaction. She was glad she was a spirit race. This way she could help master quickly increase cultivation. No one else could do this, not even the so-called strongest Emperor Zishang. Who did you hear this from? Yun Jioge asked. That person had clearly misled Yu Ling. Yu Ling froze. She frowned and thought for a moment. In the end she shook her head. I don't remember. I think I heard someone talk about it when I was in the God Palace, but I don't remember who it was. She had turned into a soul. Other than her loyalty to Yun Jioge, many things had disappeared with time. Yun Jioge felt sad. She guessed it was the person pretending to be Li Wei who had misled Yu Ling. Though Yu Ling had done this because she had been tricked, Yun Jioge could not forgive her. Take these things apart. Yun Jioge pointed at the tubes that were sucking out the power of mountains. Why? Yu Ling refused. She had spent a lot of effort to make these tubes. It would be difficult to make another set. Yu Ling, do you think you are helping me? You are harming me. Yun Jioge's eyes were filled with anger. What is it? Is there a problem with the medicinal bath? Impossible. These are prescriptions I have carefully designed. They should be good for your body. Yu Ling was very confident in her prescriptions. Good for my body, but what about my heart? Yun Jioge looked at Yu Ling and said, You have been with me for hundreds of years. You should know what kind of person I am. If I used the power of mountains to increase my cultivation, would the spirit race still exist? When Yun Jioge's mother was pregnant, she suddenly discovered that her daughter had the unique phoenix body. She suddenly had the idea to raise this child into a goddess. Not only did she spend all the resources that the God Palace had accumulated for thousands of years, but she also captured the children of the spirit race and threatened them to suck out the mountain's spirit energy. The spirit race was almost destroyed because of this. It wasn't until Yun Jioge grew up that he gave the order to seal off the mountains and return the divine power to the mountains that had suffered. Only then did the spirit race recover. The spirit race has suffered in the past. Why must you inflict the suffering on others? Yun Jioge barked. Sir, Yu Ling's ruddy face turned ashen and her lips trembled. She wanted to explain but was interrupted by Yun Jioge. I know you are doing this for my own good, but this is not what I want. Destroy the tube and restore the power of the mountains and rivers. No. Yu Ling gritted her teeth and stubbornly said, I am the one who absorbed the power of the mountains and rivers. Even if there is a divine punishment, it will only fall on me. As long as you are well, Ling has no regrets. An obsession was an obsession because it could not be removed. Even Yu Ling herself could not remove it. Yun Jioge finally gave up on trying to reason with Yu Ling. Yu Ling, who used to be magnanimous and reasonable, was already dead. What was left was only her devil-like obsession. Since there was no way to convince him, he could only use forceful methods. Ling, from the moment you chose to kill yourself, you have given up the right to follow me. Go where you belong. Yun Jioge's hand emitted a golden god fire. The holy light covered the entire place. The faint golden light contained a terrifying and dangerous power. The grand and majestic god temple turned to dust, revealing the curse's instinct to devour. Yu Ling's body floated in the air. Her gray eyes looked painfully at Yun Jioge and said, Sir, do you want to kill me? It is not that I want to kill you. You have already killed yourself. Yun Jioge sighed and flicked his finger. The golden god fire flew towards Yu Ling. No, I don't want to die. Yu Ling's hair stood up. Gray death marks snaked down from her forehead to her entire body. The wild curse's devouring power surged. The entire goddess mountain was shaking. Endless gray threads blocked Yunjyoga's godfire in the air. The golden light gradually dimmed. Yunjyoga's expression did not change. He kept sending spirit power into the godfire. Seeing the horrifying Linger in her darkened state, she was even more determined to destroy her at all costs. Otherwise, before the catastrophe arrived, Linger would have pierced through the azure tide continent. Sir. Linger also felt Yunjyoga's murderous intent. She had sacrificed everything for Master, abandoning her life and her clansmen, only to receive Master's merciless killing intent. She was not willing. Linger's resentment was getting heavier and heavier. The grayish-white threads started to turn black as if they were dyed by ink. They even darkened the sky of Goddess Mountain. The billowing resentment condensed into black clouds in the sky. Countless lonely souls and wild ghosts were trembling and howling in the clouds. It was as if a catastrophe was coming to the entire 100,000 mountains. The ordinary Miao people thought that the deity was enraged and was going to bestow punishment, and all of them prostrated on the ground trembling. The flying insects, birds and beasts flew around in panic, but they couldn't find any safe place at all. Black Orchid was standing guard by the fire. Although she had Yunjyoga's guarantee, she did not dare to release her cursed clansman and sister. When she saw the resentment clouds on top of Goddess Mountain, an expression of extreme fear appeared on her face. Although she wanted Yunjyoga to deal with the demoness, it was definitely not a situation where both sides would suffer. Otherwise, even if Yunjyoga could kill the demoness, 100,000 mountains would be destroyed and they wouldn't be able to survive. As the wind and clouds changed color, Yunjyoga floated in the sky, her clothes fluttering in the wind. Although the divine fire on her fingertip was weak, there was no sign of it being extinguished. She kept advancing towards Yuling. Yunjyoga knew that Yulinger was very wronged, very sad and very angry. But other than destroying it, she had no other way to resolve it. At this moment, a purple spear whistled through the clouds. Everywhere it passed, the grayish-black threads were all shattered. Yulinger raised her hand and a huge black hand grabbed at the spear. The two collided with each other, creating a loud bang. A huge shockwave rippled out, setting off monstrous waves. Yunjyoga was blown away by the huge waves and involuntarily flew into the distance. Finally, she fell into a gentle but firm embrace. Zishang, why are you here? Yunjyoga looked in shock at Zishang standing behind her. Hadn't this guy been hiding from Yulinger? Zishang, you've finally shown yourself. Yulinger's eyes were full of hatred. I didn't want to disturb your reunion with Jyoga, but now you've gone too far, Zishang said calmly. I've gone too far? Yulinger laughed coldly. When Master reincarnated, you were the first to steal the reincarnation stone, and then you destroyed the rest, making it so that no one else could pass. Do you know how despicable and shameless you are? You're tuning in to the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.